It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury signifying nothing.
So season 2 of Jimmy Neutron is special in its own right. Not just because the first season started a great and interesting show about a 5th grade genius, but because of the relationships and inventions that come around this show. It went from season 1 being explorative and exciting to season 2 being just plain weird. Yeah, before we had Professor Calamitous, the FBI guys, but this season, we have a multitude of crazier characters. Beautiful Gorgeous comes in for the first time. Principal Wallaby even becomes a more recurring character. We dive into a lot more episodes exploring Carl's life, Sheen's life, and most importantly, Jimmy and Cindy's relationship seems to grow in this too. Now this season is long and dense, and I really wanted to dive into every single episode and kind of go through it with you guys. So we're going to focus only on every episode of season 2. So there's a total of 21 episodes throughout the second season, but it's a little confusing because Operation Jet Fusion and Win, Lose, and Kaboom are a multitude of episodes and count for more than one, so I'm going to have to walk you guys through this. And we're excluding the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour, which is normally episode 15 of the second season, but we're still gonna count it. Between Wikipedia, the Jimmy Fandom Wiki, IMDb, all these websites seem to get some of these episodes out of the wrong season, so I'll just let you know I covered Sorry Wrong Era and A Beautiful Mind in the first season as it's listed on the DVD, so that's gonna be kind of the thing we're gonna mirror. So grab a bag of popcorn and let's get into this 2000s nostalgia with Johnny 2000.
How come whenever we're in outer space, we don't gotta wear helmets?
Good question, Sheen. And the answer is quite interesting. You see...
Spoon! Huh, really?
Mm-hmm.
And how come we don't need oxygen tanks and stuff?
Well...
Star, you're so far, can't go my car!
Okay, so in the season premiere of Jimmy Neutron, we have Beach Party Mummy, which is a weird title, I'll tell you that much. This one's a full-length episode instead of being broken into 2 parts, which I'm excited about. We start with Jimmy trying to revive a dead fish with his electro-life device, which is a really cool concept for an invention. When it doesn't work, he throws it away.
The smooth, cold texture reminds me of Swimmy.
Carl's depressed because Swimmy's dead, and obviously it's his fish. Meanwhile, they go to school and they're learning about Egypt. Miss Fowl puts on a really boring movie, which is comically empty.
Dear Ahmedia, today I moved a 1-ton boulder across the broiling desert sands.
And Jimmy encourages Carl, Sheen, Cindy, and Libby to sneak away. Almost stopped by the principal, they come up with a really ridiculous excuse.
He meant to say we're on our way to the school tanning salon.
The school tanning salon? Well, have fun! Oh, and don't fall asleep. I did once, and I ended up looking like a big old lobster.
And get away with it. Jimmy takes everybody into the hover car, and they set off. After a while, they land in the desert. It's really empty and boring, and nobody's really happy until they turn it into a beach party, which is a really funny musical number with everybody dancing.
Egyptian beach party, shake it loose on the Nile.
And I forgot how much I love this show. It's so funny that Cindy and Libby are a part of this now, because if this was a first season episode, I feel like they would have focused on keeping it between Jimmy, Sheen, and Carl. The fact they're incorporated is really exciting. After a while, a giant sandstorm comes, ruining their beach party. They jump in the hover car and try to get away, but it completely knocks them out. They end up finding an ancient pyramid. Ooh, this is where it gets kind of scary. So Jimmy and all the friends head into this giant pyramid that has dead bodies and everything.
There's no steps, there's no handrail, there's no souvenir shop. I'm standing out here.
And when they find something on the architecture, they see that it's Libby with a different hairstyle. This has always been my favorite. Like, the distinction between season 1 and season 2 being Libby's hairstyle was always cool to me. I remember just as a kid realizing that that meant this was like a new era. Libby's excited, so is Sheen. Jimmy translates the ancient text to find out that this woman was 18 when she died, which is the first time it's relevant for somebody to say, and why do the good die young? Meanwhile, the principal finally realizes there must have been a discrepancy with the excuse he got from the kids.
Oh yeah.
Wait a minute.
Come on.
We don't have a tanning salon.
Jimmy finds a giant empty room that ends up having a secret stone to unlock another room. Suddenly everybody's trapped and it's like they're gonna die here. Suddenly snakes start to appear and attack the kids, with Jimmy using fire as a way of stopping them. Jimmy wants to go forward and find out more about the Egyptians, but everybody else is like worried about it. Eventually they come across a bunch of dead mummies. The lights go off and everything is dark until Carl brings out the invention Jimmy had earlier to use light, but it accidentally makes the mummies come to life. You know, if Jimmy's a genius, I don't know how he's not noticing his entire invention bringing mummies back to life. Like, this is ridiculous.
These are looking at us.
Impossible. They're moving.
Which is kind of late in the episode to have a really big threat like that. And they start chasing the kids. And I remember being scared of this when I was little. Just the fact that they go so slow kind of freaks me out. Jimmy realizes that the only way to get to them is through Libby. It looks romantic for a second, but obviously it's not.
What's going on? It's the desert love curse, working its evil ways on Jimmy's heart.
So they switch her hairstyle and have her stop the mummies. And then also gives them choreography.
Oh, yeah.
Libby commands them to have a 10-year sleep, and I guess that's how they solve that problem. They finally leave the desert, coming back just in time to be caught by the principal and Miss Fowl.
It's Fowl, we're back!
Turns out that they're not that mad because they went on an educational adventure, and that's kind of how the episode ends.
Pretty cool adventure, Neutron.
Oh, thanks, Cindy.
But I bet the next one stinks.
Cindy and Jimmy have their first genuine moment, and it is very quickly shut down. The end. So the Retroville 9, which is season 2, episode 2 of Jimmy Neutron, I'm super nostalgic for because it was included on my Game Boy Advance video. This is the one where they're playing baseball pretty much.
Ball, that was right down the middle. I've seen better calls than a square dance.
It starts us out at school when Jimmy's team can't beat the school bullies' baseball team. They literally run bases around them completely. All the other kids gave up, but Jimmy has an ego, so he insists on challenging Butch to another game.
We want a rematch!
You're on.
No! Why?
Then we get another classic Hugh, Jimmy, father-son scene.
They used to call me, "Get lost! We hate you!"
And Jimmy realizes that he can do a little bit more than just get better at baseball. So he takes the baseball equipment and re-engineers it in his lab. Suddenly, all of him and his friends are amazing baseball players.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest boy on the face of the earth.
It's like ridiculous. How do you not understand this is them cheating? Q Neutron has such a funny side plot in this episode where it's just like all the baseballs everybody hits just somehow finds him and hits him. The team gets cocky and is even recruited to play in the major leagues in Japan, which is such a specific place to have this major league thing. Jimmy has an opportunity to tell his friends, but he gets too shy. Next thing you know, they're actually in Japan at the professional game. Jimmy doubles down and tries not to tell his friends, even hiding the other equipment. A famous baseball player impresses Sheen with his Ultra Lord knowledge.
Well, if he uses Retro Blast powers and Proton Ball like he did in Ultra Lord versus the Gravity Suckers, it'd be pretty hard.
Suddenly, Jimmy realizes it's time to come clean, and he tells his friends about the equipment and gives them a long speech about how they need to believe in themselves, and that's how they'll win.
Now, who wants to go out there and win this game?
And you see on the sign it says Super Dedicated Work Team and then Retroville 9, which is cool because it means like the writers actually get that they're not doing the right thing. It kind of ends on a bittersweet moment where they just lose, and that's kind of the end. But they learn their lesson, and that's what matters. Next, we have Grumpy Young Man. So Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are at the video game store trying to rent Doombringer 2, but it's rated M for mature. And obviously the kids aren't old enough, and even the cashier at the place refuses to sell it to them.
We're highly mature. I demand my constitutional rights.
They get kicked out of the store, which is kind of funny, and Sheen gets ice cream in his face. This is like one of those classic episodes where it's like kids wishing that they were older than they were, which is super relatable. If anything, I'm surprised this isn't in the first season. I know Timmy Turner did an episode of this where he became older too. It's called The Big Problem.
Suppose, theoretically, a person could accelerate his metabolism to make himself 18, but it would be highly unethical.
You mean the only thing standing between us and hot multiplayer action is the difference between right and wrong?
So Jimmy hooks up his portal for everybody to walk into and come out mature old men. Oh wait, but it doesn't work. They are the same.
Which one of you guys wants to help me comb my back hair?
Or not.
Until the next morning when they realize that they're old men. Oh my gosh, Jimmy is so disturbing looking. Like, it's kind of cute because it's like, oh, it's Jimmy older and his little swoop is still there, but it looks kind of gross. Carl and Sheen look way too natural, which is funny. And they're just as much themselves as they were before, just old.
I just need to get a hold of enough titanium to make a stronger time break.
And this episode is just like super comedic relief. Jimmy drives a car, which is jarring because I've never seen a main character drive a car in a kid's show, but I guess they're old enough, so whatever. Carl and Sheen get distracted by the senior buffet, while Cindy and Libby corner older Jimmy, not recognizing him at all.
Take my arm, extremely old but still valuable senior citizen.
I don't need your girly help.
I realize that titanium is the only thing that will be able to reverse the old age thing. But when Jimmy gets there, he completely forgets what he's doing and even runs into his father, who does not recognize him.
You remind me of my father. Except you're not always saying, Huey, I told you, toothpaste isn't food.
Well, he kinda does, but he doesn't know it's Jimmy. He even takes this old man back to his house against Jimmy's will. And it's funny because it's like, I wonder if this is actually how old people are treated. Like, they're just taken around by younger people like Cindy and Libby and Hugh. And even at the restaurant, Carl and Sheen get bombarded by this old married couple who think they're trying to hit on them, but really they're just there for the special.
I don't even like girls yet.
I challenge you to a dance-off.
He accepts!
Jimmy has dinner with his parents as an old person and tries to tell them what's wrong, but they do not believe him, and it's really funny. I think they just left their car at the candy shop though. Later, Sheen pulls Carl on a gurney. Oh my god, are they gonna die? It turns out that they won the eating competition and got a titanium trophy as a present, so Jimmy is able to activate the machine and everybody is able to return to normal. Carl ends up eating this disgusting looking purple whip, and I don't really know why this is the ending. But yeah, these episodes do what Jimmy Neutron does best, where it's like an everyday situation twisted with one of Jimmy's inventions and piled on top of Jimmy's ego, getting in the way of solving the problem. The show has gotten such a rhythm by now, it's sad to think that we're like halfway through the entire series at this point. Jimmy Neutron had it all. He has the brains, the adventure, but now he's a spy? Yeah, did you guys remember that Jimmy Neutron became a spy? This is the infamous 2-part episode in season 2 of Jimmy Neutron, where Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen take on a much bigger threat than they're used to when Jimmy's recruited to be a spy and save Jet Fusion. But let's jump into it. So Jimmy Neutron takes on James Bond in this first 2-part episode, Operation Rescue Jet Fusion. So we start the special with an ominous clip show of Jimmy Neutron and his more heroic moments. It turns out to be watched by a government agent.
Get me that kid.
We get a really cool spy-like intro, and we got some really notable actors in this, like Wendy Malick as Beautiful Gorgeous, Tim Curry as Professor Calamitous. I'm starting to underestimate all these Jimmy Neutron songs. Like, there was the Valentine's Day special, the Christmas special, and even this. Like, there are so many really good musical numbers in Jimmy Neutron. They're kind of bangers. So Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are in line to see the new movie Die Again Tomorrow? Forever, which is a really ominous name. And it stars Jet Fusion, which is this really cool action-packed James Bond type. In the movie, it's literally just him pushing bad guys out of a plane. I mean, like, how is this a full narrative?
Hate to leave you hanging, but I've got a jet.
I wonder if they're just in there for an hour and a half watching, and he saves the woman. Very stereotypical of the time. Carl tells Jimmy he reminds him of Jet Fusion, which obviously is a compliment.
Except he's older and has big bulging muscles and his hair's different and girls like him and he's not short.
Yeah, I get the point.
Sheen challenges him, saying that he can't put his foot behind his head, and that is one of my favorite bits that Sheen continues to do throughout the show. So during class, Jimmy is called to the principal's office. Nobody knows why, but everybody speculates.
I'll call you lawyer, and don't talk, no matter how much they torture you. He's gonna sing like a canary.
He's walking through the deserted hallway when he's magically warped into a locker? Like, how in the world does this make sense? He jumps in sideways but lands at the bottom, which, Jimmy Neutron, you're a genius. How are you not questioning the gravity? Apparently, Commander Baker of BTSO headquarters needs Jimmy. It's a big top secret organization, which is so basic, and they ask him to do a top secret mission.
We need you to reactivate the tracking device, find Agent X, and bring him back. This is a dangerous mission. You may not come back alive.
Can I get out of school?
Of course.
Then you've got yourself a spy.
Can you imagine going on a field trip and somebody tells your parents, yeah, by the way, he may not come back alive? Don't they need to get Hugh and Jimmy's mom's consent for this? They set him up with the genius inventor, and Jimmy just happens to one-up him at every turn.
Mobile utility vehicle travels 200 miles per hour on 1 tank of gas.
Won't need it. My hovercraft goes 476 miles per hour on land, sea, and air, and runs on 1 cup of fun fuel.
Oh, well, aren't we a little Thomas Edison?
Actually, I met Thomas Edison when I brought him back in my time.
And it's so funny because he's not honestly meaning to be a show-off in this moment. He just genuinely had a lot of accomplishments. He even disactivates the inventor's tank.
That's a very nice little thing you've invented.
Jimmy says he's going on a spy mission, so he's officially a spy now.
Spies aren't cute.
Yeah, Honey Pie East was. Ooh, I used to watch her TV show all the time. I had her picture up in my room.
Hugh somehow turns this into a lesson that does not pan out at all.
Yeah, I had a cool suit, a pair of sunglasses, a secret camera.
Hugh, you were a spy for Halloween.
Sure was. And did I look boss or what? I got so much candy that year, I threw up until Christmas. You know,
Jimmy's parents send him, Carl, and Sheen off as they head on their mission. And, like, they're barely taking it seriously, but I don't know. I think it's going to be an awesome mission. As they're flying in Jimmy's hover car, a giant rocket heads toward them. Oh, man, it's getting dangerous. The hover car is impacted and they land in the ocean. Ooh, adventurous. And that's when the first commercial break happens. Jimmy introduces his neutronic air gun, which allows the cast to breathe underwater. I always remember this clip from Nickelodeon because this is where SpongeBob's house was in the background, and they always put it in the commercials. I'm like, guys, it's not an Easter egg if you're telling everybody about it. Yep, there it is. They encounter an evil clam and are able to swim away. Oh my god, this gum is so cool. I would love to breathe underwater. They're running away from the clam, and the funny bit happens where it looks like Pac-Man.
Was it something we said?
Maybe it was our breath. I had frosted garlic pops for breakfast with soy milk.
No, that's what stopped the clam.
A vague person in a scuba outfit encounters Jimmy and his friends at the bottom of the sea and guides them up to the boat. It's revealed to be Beautiful Gorgeous, played by Wendy Malick, and she is such a funny character because obviously all the kids obsess over her, which is kind of weird.
Are you boys all right?
Will you be my mommy?
Wendy Malick's voice is perfect for something like this. I don't know why, it just definitely fits the genre, and I feel like we're jumping into this. Obviously, we know about Beautiful Gorgeous from future episodes, but I'm going to refrain from spoiling it right yet. But this character is so funny and has such a distinct personality.
You all are so fascinating. Too bad I have to annihilate you.
She reveals that she is a villain and going to kill them. Jimmy asks to take off his watch since they were captured, but at the last second he magnetizes her to the side of the boat, able to get away. Jimmy, you are a genius. See, the inventor would have never thought of that.
You can bet we'll meet again.
No, I don't think I'll be visiting you in prison.
Oh, I will.
Ciao.
Jimmy is able to escape in his hover car, only to be attacked by another torpedo, and Beautiful Gorgeous already broke free, and she is chasing them too. The cinematics in this part is really cool, though.
Doesn't her hair look beautiful blowing in the breeze?
And they continue their adventure up Mount Everest. Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen fall off the mountain, just barely holding on. Oh my gosh, this is so risky. Right before they fall down the entire mountain, Carl and Sheen land on the ground, but Jimmy lands in a tree and falls into a giant sewer-like hole in the ground. Carl and Sheen are separated as they're approached by these guys in really dark robes. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be a cult. Jimmy ends up in a giant cage, and who better to run into but Jet Fusion? Perfect time to end this halfway episode. Oof, I love double episodes.
Jet Fusion?
So this is a perfect way to stop the first half of it. Like, he finally gets to meet his hero, and I'm curious where it's going from here. So Jimmy and Jet are trapped in the cage. Jimmy is starstruck, and Jet Fusion is an actual spy, it seems, which is not super secret.
Started after I graduated from MIT, Caltech, and Harvard. I got into extreme sports as part of a research project. An agent spotted me and put me in the movies. Impressed by my amazing stunt work. Who wouldn't be? The BTSO tracked me down and asked me to join the team.
Mr. Fusion does not think that Jimmy is capable of this and thinks it's a big joke. Jet's kind of a jerk. He's like, I'm gonna probably have to save you now. And it's like, come on, bro.
I'm on to you, Dino, in accounting.
Sorry, Mr. Fusion. They really sent me.
He reveals that he's trying to track down Professor Calamitous, and Jimmy Neutron immediately recognizes him. Oh, come on, Jet. Can you believe that he's a hero now?
Jimmy Neutron, can I get you anything? A pillow, fuzzy slippers, a cappuccino?
Wait a minute. You could never finish anything.
Not sure if you guys remember, but Professor Calamitous was known for never finishing anything. Meanwhile, Carl and Sheen are headed up the mountain following the mysterious guys in robes.
Pal, you really need to get over this llama fixation once and for all.
Hey, I was born a llama boy and I'll die a llama boy!
That may be sooner than you think.
Jet Fusion and Jimmy are strapped to the seat as they enjoy Professor Calamitous' food. He reveals his plan to completely melt the snow and create a meltdown.
Well, I haven't really worked out what happens after that.
He finds excuses for not completing his entire plan, and it's like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah, that's Professor Calamitous, alright. Calamitous reveals that his assistant is beautiful gorgeous. She shows up on the table, ready to kill them both. Her and Jet Fusion have an uncomfortably obvious flirtation, but Jet Fusion is not worried about it.
The name's Jet Fusion.
Oh, yes. The movie star and part-time secret agent. I've heard about you.
Really? So, what are you doing later, beautiful?
Sorry, she'll be busy eliminating you.
She's told to get rid of them, but it's already kind of complaining about how he treats her, so we know that there's going to be a little deception coming up soon. She keeps going off into this brief monologue where she says she wanted to be a, and then never finishes it.
What's an attractive, sophisticated woman like you doing with an evil dirtbag like Professor Calamitous?
He's my father.
No!
She attaches Jet Fusion and Jimmy to this giant gadget that slowly rotates until it gets rid of them. I don't know why all the villains always like to stall when it comes to killing the heroes.
Place our ropes and we can escape.
Got a calculator hidden in that hair of yours?
No, just a big brain.
No whispering.
Jimmy uses his genius to help Jet Fusion jump off the blade and stop Beautiful Gorgeous long enough for him to get out. While Jet and Beautiful Gorgeous fight, Jimmy tries to disarm the invention. But obviously Jimmy is fanboying over the fight before he can get to the contraption, and uses his Confuse Ray to confuse Beautiful Gorgeous. Meanwhile, Sheen and Carl apparently are taken to the Promised Land.
Toss us over and we'll fall on the sharp, pointy rocks we missed earlier.
Or not.
So long, Carl. I'm sorry I occasionally made fun of llamas. Deep down, I think they're quite adorable.
And it's like paradise. Like, meanwhile, Jimmy is doing this top secret mission, which is so normal for this show. Jimmy and Jet get to Calamitous' machine right after he goes to the bathroom.
Think I can destroy Calamitous' device without harming the delicate Tibetan ecosystem.
Just blow it up, kid. We're not here to save the whales.
Jimmy manages to stop the bomb, but instead redirects it to the lab where they all are. So quickly, they have to get out. Jimmy uses Jet's catchphrase,
Got it, Jet! Sorry.
Hey, if this works, you can use my catchphrase anytime you like.
And they leave Beautiful Gorgeous and Calamitous behind. They get into a big argument, not knowing that this place is about to blow, while Jimmy and Jet use the door of the lab to ski their way down the mountain. Calamitous and Beautiful Gorgeous realize what's about to happen, so they hurry out as quickly as possible, resentful at each other and continuing to fight.
No, let's just sit here and watch them escape.
Are you being sarcastic again?
Explosion happens, the villains are rolled into a snowball and fall down the mountain, literally about to attack Jimmy and Jet. Finally, Jimmy uses his jetpack to safely land with Jet. Professor Calamitous and Beautiful Gorgeous also land in the same place, this giant llama paradise where Sheen and Carl have been this whole time.
Sheen? Oh, you mean the chosen one.
The chosen one?
They find Carl and Sheen immediately, and Sheen is praised for putting the foot behind his head. Oh yeah, that was this episode. Jimmy gets Carl and Sheen, and they both head home, telling his parents what's going on, And next thing you know, Jimmy is at the front of the next spy movie poster. Then we see a brief glimpse of a movie of Jimmy being a spy and attacking a bunch of ninjas, which is kind of funny. And that's how the special ends, as he rescues Betty Quinlan. This special is really good because obviously Jimmy Neutron is a genius and him working with jet fusion is a step up from what he's used to. A bigger threat definitely justifies a double episode. With Professor Calamitous returning, it's even more at stake because we know exactly what to be worried about. The one thing I don't really like about it is its very minimal lack of character development. Like, none of the events that are happening are because of the characters' personalities or what's going on. It's all just event after event. But that's usually a spy movie, so I guess it makes sense that they're following that format for this. It's epic, it has adventure, and it's hilarious, and that's all you really need in Jimmy Neutron. I mean, Jimmy Neutron isn't known for having dramatic character stakes in their big specials like this, but obviously we're going to get to even better ones as time goes on. I'm not sure if you guys saw my video on Win, Lose, Kaboom, which comes later in the series, but that's a little bit better than this one. All around, 7 out of 10. I definitely think it's a better Jimmy Neutron episode, but it still feels like it's lacking what it set out to do. But what do you guys think? Do you remember Operation Jet Fusion?
Now for the Jimmy Neutron Halloween special, Nightmare in Retroville.
What are we gonna be for Halloween?
Llama Boy!
Carl, you've been Llama Boy for the last 8 years.
Yeah, plus Llama Boy's not scary.
Jimmy guesses that Sheen's gonna be Ultra Lord, but Sheen denies this, saying he wore out his costume. 3 of them go back to the house where he was watching the favorite movie Octopus Man.
So, who are you gonna be this year, Jim?
To Carl and Sheen's surprise, Jimmy says that he won't trick or treat, since Halloween's kind of for kids. However, Jimmy makes a deal that he will make Carl and Sheen into monsters if they give him half their candy. They go into Jimmy's lab where Jimmy presents his neutronic monster maker, which will change anyone's physical appearance to resemble the monster they choose. Carl chooses to be a vampire, Sheen chooses to be a werewolf, and then Jimmy turns them into the monsters.
I am Dracula! That was my cape look.
Which clearly Jimmy's inventions never go wrong. Jimmy turns them into monsters, and they use the hover car to go trick-or-treating to get to more houses. They go to Principal Wallaby's house first and get enough candy to make them sick for weeks, and Sheen puts it.
I was a butterfly, then I was an elf, a sprite, an ice skater. I was Peter Pan 6 times, Michelangelo's David, and I gotta tell you, that was chilly. Brr!
When Carl accidentally cuts himself in the finger, the wrapper, he drinks his own blood and his finger is healed. He turns into a vampire bat and actually flies away, so Jimmy surmises that his machine actually changed Carl's DNA into that of a real vampire.
Yeah, Jimbo, have you seen my suede duck feet with the... Oh, darling. A big game? Oh, I want to play Name That Monster.
Meanwhile, Hugh accidentally falls into Jimmy's lab and inadvertently turns himself into Frankenstein's monster, rendering him unable to speak in complete sentences. Judy thinks he's made himself a wonderful costume as he's trying to kill her. Sheen then sees the full moon come out and starts to attack Jimmy. Jimmy panics and flies off in the hover car. Jimmy lands his hover car in the park and asks Goddard what he knows about vampires, like how they eat blood of the living, can turn the victims into vampires, repelled by garlic. He asks Goddard anything about werewolves, but it's Miss Fowl who answers the question, appearing out of the fog as a fortune teller, which is actually kind of cool.
Hi, Miss Fowl. How do you know about werewolves?
I was married to one, but that's a story for another day.
And she tells Jimmy that about werewolves because she was once married to one. That explains a lot, Miss Fowl. She tells Jimmy that werewolves can turn people into werewolves by biting them and can be destroyed by an object made of silver. She quickly disappears back into the fog. Carl finds Cindy, hypnotizes her, bites her, and turns her into a real emo vampire like him. I mean, look at his getup. It's definitely like emo vibes.
I need meat.
Well, don't look at me. I'm a vegetarian.
I knew it. Carl owes me $2. He thought you were a Republican.
Sheen finds Libby and bites her, turning her into a werewolf like him. Jimmy and Goddard try to run back to the hover car, but Carl and Cindy do a big flip over him and land in front of the hover car, blocking his path. He and Goddard go into the alley to sneak back to the hover car, where Sheen and Libby sneak behind him. Jimmy runs across the street to get silver from the Hi-Ho Silver Jewelry Store. Then Hugh, holding Judy, comes to the sidewalk running into Jimmy. Jimmy realizes his dad probably got into the lab and turned himself to a monster himself.
And full of blood.
Why, thank you, What?
Look into my eyes! please.
She mine!
Sheen and Carl attack Hugh while Cindy and Libby start fighting, and then Judy breaks up the fights, telling them all to work amongst themselves. When they work things out, the monsters conclude that they shouldn't fight each other and instead decide to scare the townspeople. Meanwhile, Jimmy returns to the lab and turns himself into a monster, but lowering the settings so that his DNA, unlike the others, won't change. The monsters go to the candy bar where an alarmed Sam and Miss Fowl call up an angry mob armed with silver, garlic, and fire. They chase the monsters into a mini golf course and they all have to hide.
What is that?
It's horrible!
It's hideous! It's Jimmy?
No, it's...
They then see Jimmy coming from the sky as a giant octopus, which Hugh admires. And so Jimmy grabs all of them with his tentacles, takes them back home, and turns them back to normal. Whew, this one was a special, very, very special. I don't know what this was about. This one was actually really interesting. They definitely worked in the premise of Jimmy Neutron to make it really natural, as opposed to a lot of the other shows that just have to break the fourth wall and go crazy for an episode. This feels like a Jimmy Neutron episode, which I really like. So Monster Hunt to me is a pretty forgettable episode, but rewatching it, there's a lot of really funny moments. It starts us off in the lake with a Jaws type scene of Mrs. Fowl swimming with Sam, the candy bar guy. It's very romantic. I didn't realize they were in a relationship until like right now. Miss Fowl is attacked by a giant sea monster, leaving Sam alone at sea. The town is furious, with the mayor trying to figure out what's going on with this lake. Cindy and Libby are pretty certain that it is a lake monster.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the lake monster.
But Jimmy likes to stand up in front of everybody and try to discredit them, which is kind of disrespectful, Jimmy. Like, they're trying to give a presentation. The mayor is kind of like not understanding anything Jimmy says, but Jimmy is determined. He says he's going to go out there himself with his invention and Carl and Sheen and prove that this lake monster is not a real thing. Meanwhile, Carl kind of tells us a story about his pet turtle that he released into the ocean way back when, and it kind of feels irrelevant. They get on the boat with this senile old man with a giant chunk in his hat. This guy seems like he's seen bigger things than what we're about to deal with.
Eyes black as pitch, like a doll's eyes.
They prefer to be called action figures.
And his hand completely detaches, which is horrifying. They finally set off into the ocean and bond with this old man while Jimmy is trying to get all his work done.
Another pass or two and I think we're done here. Are you out of your mind?
He tells him the story about how his monkeys were attacked, I guess?
And that's why they call me Betty.
And there's more and more proof as the episode goes on that this thing is real without actually scientific proof, so then Jimmy doesn't count it.
Chilean monster could possibly exist in a man-made freshwater ecosystem.
Yahoy, Jimbo!
Dad?
Hi there, sport! Just dumping some of the runoff from your lab.
They find Hugh Neutron in a boat pouring out highly contaminated goo into the ocean from Jimmy's lab. Jimmy's like, what the heck are you doing, Dad? And finally, we have an explanation. A giant turtle comes from the ground, kind of looks like Bowser, and attacks the ship. It's exactly like Carl's little turtle. So it turns out all this goo that Mr. Neutron is dropping into the ocean must have transformed him. So technically, this is Jimmy's fault.
I think it's working. Once we get Snappy encased in ice, I'll feed him this demutation pellet.
Which, how did you know you needed that, Jimmy? As the giant monster attacks the boat. Eventually, it even starts to sink as they end up stranded in the ocean. Finally, managed to demutate the giant turtle, and Carl's little pet is back, but he's still allergic.
Look. Nicely done, Chiefy.
Captain Betty, you're alive!
They swim off back to shore, singing a song, and that's kind of the end of the episode. The next episode is Jimmy for President. So this is one of those classic election episodes where the main characters are running up against each other to try to get class president for the power of the entire grade. Very stereotypical of a TV show to do when they're in school. Jimmy essentially is like, oh, I can't wait to bring learning as a class president. And Jimmy, I would not vote for you either. You seem like you would do a lot of boring rules. And of course, Cindy and Libby are super excited to run. They finally introduce one of the best characters in the show, Bolby.
We have a new foreign exchange student joining us from Bakharistan. Please welcome Bolby Stroganovsky.
Hello, fellow learners!
A new addition to the class, who's getting made fun of for his cultural differences, which isn't really cool. He puts himself on the candidate list, along with Jimmy, Sheen, and Libby. Sheen has a really funny speech to be class president.
Ultra-Lord tattoos will be mandatory. Principal Willoughby, tear down your wall!
And woos over no one. Of course, Libby is the cool one, and promising things that I don't think you could legally have in a school environment.
15 minutes of funk every day. Can you handle that? Tell it, sister.
Can we afford funk every day?
And then of course Jimmy does not help his own case as he just promises educational things, which even the teachers aren't interested in.
Flashy clothes or polyrhythmic music or guacamole bars.
That's cause you don't know the secret ingredient. It's love.
Bulby comes up with a dance routine, and he is immediately dismissed too. Next we have Carl as a swing voter, and everybody showing up to his house one by one trying to bribe him, and it's so funny.
And just to make sure we understand each other.
Cindy, you accidentally left $1 in my hand.
Keep it.
Why?
I think you know why.
I don't. Why are you winking at me? Why did you give me $1? My brain hurts!
Is the peak of this episode because he thinks she likes him. Sheen is just downright aggressive and not super helpful. Bulby doesn't really say much. And Jimmy is the most rational, but obviously he's the least interesting part of this episode. Feud Neutron tries to give Jimmy advice about being class president, and obviously it does nothing.
I was elected towel boy in junior high. What's really important is you have to give him a little razzle-dazzle. Give him a show. Kick out the jam, sock it to him, yeah?
Razzle-dazzle, huh?
Later, there's like a school fair where everybody is given a chance to woo as to why they should be president, and suddenly Jimmy goes from being nothing to an actual threat, giving everybody purple fleur mist and candy. Then finally a dance routine with himself in it. And I'm like, okay, maybe Jimmy does have a chance, but it's like, why would this benefit the school at all? In the end, it's finally time to announce the winner, and instead of going to all the usual people, Carl is intimidated by every single person.
There's more you-know-what if you vote for Libby.
It's up to him who becomes class president, which is ridiculous. He ends up choosing Bulby, which is the only fair way to get out of this plot that the writers have driven them into. Like, who else could have won without it having to have a lasting impact on the entire series and change the episodes from now on? Like, obviously you have to have Bulby do it. Obviously the kids can't get mad at each other because Carl didn't choose them. And that's kind of where it ends.
Okay, your president has got the job and start slapping! Slap, 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 clap, clap, clap.
I love election episodes, and I think this one did probably one of the best election episodes I've ever seen, just because it has Jimmy and his ego trying his best, but then flipping to his invention like he usually would in an episode. It has Sheen being really wacky and weird, Feud Neutron giving advice, Carl at the center of everything, and Libby and Cindy acting aggressive. It has like all the elements that make Jimmy Neutron a really good show. The characters are so lively in these episodes, and I just love where the season is heading. So Jimmy brings his Nanobots back, these two little guys from a couple episodes earlier in the first season. They've got really humorous buddy comedy vibe and just care about serving Jimmy.
2 eyes. Now my gaze is twice as commanding.
Test, test. Woo-hoo-hoo. Listen to my new voice. I'm like a silicon-based Julio Iglesias.
A paper report, Jimmy needs help, so he asks the Nanobots to do it for him.
To scan my new poem and correct it for errors. It has to be perfect.
The creator wishes us to correct for error.
We are back, baby!
They end up going haywire, arguing, and ruining all of it. Jimmy realizes that they are still disobedient and locks them away.
I blame your poor leadership skills.
They're hard on each other and realize that their master is not happy. So they come up with an idea to actually get out and help him more, getting to their old ship. So they sneak out of Jimmy's little invention and go on an adventure themselves, which is so cute, eventually getting to this UFO-sized hover car.
I call Captain's chair!
Over my dead relays!
When Jimmy's going to school, the hover car emerges and follows him. Suddenly, it appears at school and starts controlling all these different aspects, like Sheen is presenting and it starts to control his dance moves.
Box step, plie, plie,
and bring it on home!
It ruins Miss Fowl's hair, and Jimmy doesn't really know what to do about it. Soon it begins bullying everybody in the school, even finding its way to Nick outside and even the lunch lady. Everybody is terrified as it takes over the lunchroom, and these two quirky little guys are just destroying everything, even getting Cindy and Libby.
Hey, not bad!
They corner Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen, and that's where the commercial break happens. Okay, so this is a real threat. I like that we're not going out super far for this plot, like we're staying inside an already established location, and it's kind of cool. The Nanobots take things way farther, throwing Jimmy into a closet and getting rid of everybody on Earth. This makes Hugh Neutron think that he is the last person on Earth, which is a super funny bit.
Maybe they got together and formed an angry mob! Wait up, everybody! I want to be in the mob, too! Sam! Anyone! Somebody answer me!
He decides to go about life as if it's the end, and of course his natural instinct is to eat as much as possible and live life to the fullest. Meanwhile, Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are the only ones on Earth and don't really come across him. They realize the plan is to just completely get rid of everybody on Earth and that they have to act very quickly.
And?
But if the trash bin gets full, the Nanobots will have to dump it, and if that happens, everyone's atoms will be gone forever!
Hugh is about to become super depressed until he finds an empty car of pies. Oh my god, I remember this episode so well. Hugh Neutron and his obsession with pies gets way too far in this section. Like, he just gets over all of his family and the world's deaths through pie?
I will live!
I feel like I would go through a lot of psychological issues. Jimmy uses the same tactic to fight the Nanobots as the first one, causing them to fight. In a really awesome chase sequence, the Nanobots try to attack Jimmy. Jimmy asks his Nanobots for one last request, and it's the essay he asked them to help him with earlier.
But she's still not as smart as me.
She can't even compute the value of pi, which I know equals 3.
Error! Pi is not equal to 3.
It's going against his own complete logic where he's talking about how Cindy is smarter than him. It's almost like he's turning on his own brain, causing the Nanobots to be so confused that they dysfunction. These guys are like kind of really easy to defeat. Like, I get that they have a lot of really threatening tactics and it ends up being horrible, but like the solution is always super easy. And Jimmy doesn't even kill them, he just lets them lay in the debris, which, Jimmy, come on, this literally is the second time this is happening. Can you just prevent this next time? Hugh doesn't seem to learn his lesson by the end, and that's just kind of how it goes. But yeah, overall, this is a really good one. I thought this was the initial episode with the Nanobots, but I didn't remember that they came first, that they've been in this show already, and this is just like a sequel appearance. I like the single location and how Jimmy ends up solving the problem he started through turning around his own genius and beating his own ego. Like, that's a really impressive message. Overall, a really good episode. Next, we take on 2 holiday episodes back to back, which is crazy because we just had a Halloween episode, we just had a double-parter, but you know what, Jimmy is not long, so I guess we're gonna have to give him this. As if we didn't already have a holiday special, it's time for Holly Jolly Jimmy, Season 2, Episode 8. The Jimmy Neutron holiday special is really funny because I don't remember it super well, but now that I'm rewatching it, it is so endearing. Of course, it's Jimmy, who is this brainiac, basically disproving Santa Claus's possibility of delivering all these presents on time. We get a really fun musical number with everybody in town singing about Christmas and Jimmy not being so into it. I recently did a retrospective on Jimmy Neutron's first season if you guys want to check it out. Musical numbers are not common for this show. This is probably the first time I've ever seen these guys sing, and it's really fun. The way the voices go with each other, but also stand out, like Miss Fowl's voice is jarring, and hearing Jimmy sing is really pretty. I like seeing his character, and I'm really getting used to the idea of having musical numbers in all of these specials. I really wasn't expecting My Life as a Teenage Robot, I was definitely expecting SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents, but this is definitely a treat. Jimmy tells the story of how he doesn't really believe in Christmas because one year he asked for this DNA sample of some sort, and Santa didn't bring it to him, so he woke up pretty disappointed. Sheen is immediately pointing out that of course he didn't get it because he almost destroyed the world that holiday. Of course, that's not surprising because Jimmy is this genius and always causing chaos in the town. Jimmy's really defensive because of course he deserved that present, but we kind of get insight onto why he doesn't believe in Santa. So Jimmy's a buzzkill as usual, and they eventually get to the point where they're like, let's travel to the North Pole and prove that he's real. So they pack up everything, get into Jimmy's rocket, and head to the North Pole. Before they head on the trip, Cindy and Libby are trying to get back at Jimmy, but accidentally get sucked into his hypercube. So on this entire trip, Cindy and Libby are floating in this vast, empty void, waiting for it. When they reach the North Pole, they see a bunch of elves packaging the Christmas presents, and it's really fun to see a Christmas episode that's in the style of Jimmy Neutron's CGI animation. Like, I think Jimmy Neutron is definitely a good universe to see Christmas in. It gives me a lot of nostalgic vibes for those old Christmas CG animated things. When they get to the North Pole, they find out that Jimmy accidentally broke Santa, which I didn't realize was possible, so the elves get really mad at him, and they're upset because nobody's able to deliver the toys in time for Christmas. Meanwhile, Mr. Neutron is trying to invent his own holiday with pie, and I think this is the beginning of his obsession with pies. In order to make up for hurting Santa Claus, Jimmy tries to make an invention that allows him to be able to deliver all the presents via his rocket. With Goddard having a reindeer nose, which is adorable, Jimmy sets off to deliver all the presents, and Hugh becomes the new mascot for his Christmas holiday, which is like Pie Day. While I wasn't expecting the first musical number, the second musical number took me by more surprise. It's sweet watching the parents sing because these characters aren't in it much anyway, so like just having them have a moment to shine as two really funny characters is cute. Definitely relevant to the Christmas special. And they sing a nice little Christmas number about pie as he wears this duck hat. So Jimmy and his dad spread holiday cheer, both in their own way. It's funny because Jimmy spends all this time trying to disprove what Santa is able to do, and yet he is trying to figure out a way to realistically do it within this Christmas time. Jimmy finally meets Santa, who actually helps him deliver the presents, and Jimmy learns that he's actually a lot more scientific than he initially believed. So Jimmy actually starts to like Santa Claus. In the end, Santa Claus gives Jimmy exactly what he asked for Christmas, restoring his belief in the holiday. Every cast member of this show gets their own best present that they deserve, and we end on a nice little closing shot of Jimmy's house. And then happy holidays, everybody. The Jimmy Neutron holiday special was definitely forgotten, but I feel like it's worth remembering with all the musical numbers and Jimmy and his dad's aspirations to bring the holidays back despite scientific differences. I mean, this is such a good one, especially opposing the Fairly Odd Parents one. Season 2, Episode 9 is now the Valentine's Day episode.
I love you, Cindy Vortex! Vortex! Vortex!
So we know about holiday episodes. I've done some Christmas ones, I've done some Halloween ones, but there's some holidays that are a little bit more obscure. I would say B and C tier, like Thanksgiving or, wait, Valentine's Day, yep.
Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, children.
All the Valentine's Day specials are really cute because they take the characters into this love-like trance and change it up for a little bit. It's usually a bottle episode with the events not lasting. And while I think the same is with this Jimmy Neutron episode, it does a little bit more than a normal holiday episode should. The episode's called Love Potion 976/J, and while the title card is extremely not in character of the episode, like unless this is the 4th of July special, but this is the episode where we finally get to see Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen have their potential loves introduced. And so much more. I can't wait to get in with you guys about how the Jimmy Neutron Valentine's Day episode is the craziest holiday episode I've seen. So let's see, Jimmy Neutron, Season 2, Episode 10, Love Potion. Okay, so the story begins with Jimmy's homeroom making Valentine's Day gifts. Don't see a lot of shows that do this specific thing where it's like everybody's celebrating this one holiday, and
Almost done. I just need my mom's lawyer to look them over so I'm not obligated to pursue a relationship.
and we see Jimmy say that he will never fall in love, but like, haven't you been in love with Betty, like at that house party episode? But I guess Betty Quinlan isn't something he would like admit out loud to the class, so maybe like for being a genius with his ego, this is normal. So Jimmy notices Oleander, which is this kid I don't really know super well. He kind of acts a lot like Carl. He's being controlled by his girlfriend, and Jimmy is like, oh my god, how could this kid stoop so low by being in a relationship? Miss Fowl says that it's only a matter of time until Jimmy is falling in love himself. Jimmy then starts to contemplate what Miss Fowl said, and doing as he usually does, he creates an invention. So it's the pheromone number 976/J, and it's a hormone that causes any boy under its influence to fall in love with the first girl he sees, and vice versa. Ooh, I always loved this plot. I think it's definitely more in wizard-related shows, but I like the idea of a concoction that allows you to fall in love. That's funny. Once Jimmy explains what the pheromone is, Sheen tries to destroy it with an axe. Jimmy stops him and explains that he's going to use the love potion to make an anti-love vaccine instead of Jimmy. We need a lot of vaccines. Jimmy then continues to store the hormone in an air-sealed vacuum, like storage space. Carl asks Jimmy to use his computer and check his email for cheese, and accidentally unleashes the experiment that Jimmy just made. Somehow it affects them all without them noticing, like real love. They leave the lab running into Libby and Cindy, and after being bullied by them, Jimmy turns towards Sydney and instantly falls in love with her. He starts to see her as a really famous scientist and gets all googly-eyed. And then meanwhile, Sheen sees the same thing in Libby, but instead of being a scientist, she is an ultra-lord queen. Something that would make both boys really enticed to want to be with these girls. And out of all moments, why when they're like pointing and laughing at them do they fall in love with them? So Libby leaves and Sheen actually follows her, but Cindy actually like ponders for a moment. And this is like sign number one, I think Cindy does love Jimmy, because she's not immediately turned off by the situation. She's very much like, I don't believe this. It's not that I don't want to believe it, but I don't believe it right now. If anything, she's protecting herself. That's how I know. And can we talk about what the Jimmy Neutron characters look like when they're in love? Like, this is more than even mind controlling. It fully makes them like mentally incapacitated. And it's so uncomfortable the way Jimmy's mouth is just like hanging open. I don't know if this is maybe how the creators see people in love being, but like, I don't know, it seems like it's this giant disease that's infected him, but maybe that's the aesthetic that the episode's going for. I kind of like that. Like, he's having a stroke here. On his way back to the lab, Jimmy is crushed by the door, and Carl falls in love with Jimmy's mom. And this is probably one of the earliest times we see Carl's relationship with Jimmy's mom. Like, we've joked about it before, but this is like full-on commitment. Like, he has a crush on her, and it's so creepy. I mean, I guess it's normal when you're like a teenage kid or like even preteen and having a crush on someone's mom, but like Carl is just taking this commitment to a whole new level. And you know how he feels about llamas and other things. Like, that's the same way he's caring about Jimmy's mom, and it's crazy. Especially the gall to do it in front of her husband. Oh my gosh, Hugh, look away. So Jimmy's cruising on his hovercraft, unsuccessfully trying to get Cindy off of his mind. He starts to imagine her face like literally everywhere, and it pops up on people. He decides that he needs to face the truth. He's fallen in love with Cindy. We see Sheen dancing outside of Libby's house, kind of like a seance. Like, the way Sheen has a crush on someone is so wacky because it's like so true to his character. Like, of course, a kid who loves superheroes and specifically like this ultra lord alter ego is going to see the woman he loves as a character in this world. But I think that's something that makes Sheen even funnier. He decides to give her melty face, which she's like really uncomfortable with at first, but then he admits that like this is his favorite toy and there's like sentimental value to it. So then we see a change in Libby where she's actually falling for him too. She takes it and there's a moment between them.
Would you do me the honor of going out with me tomorrow night on Valentine's Day?
Actually, I have to go do... Sure, why not?
So Carl's serenading Judy with a triangle. And when Hugh hears, Carl becomes angry and jealous and tells him what he has with Judy is special and nobody can ruin it. Oh my god, Carl, you are so confrontational.
Alrighty then.
Like, he didn't even express his love toward her. He just decided they're in love. I don't think that's how it works. And it's funny that Carl's getting the more negative side of the stick. Like, Jimmy's, you know, blindly in love. Sheen is worshiping this girl, but Carl seems to have like all the negative parts where he's like angry and jealous like the entire time, which is interesting. It's very complex of a character for him. Jimmy spots Cindy at the candy bar, and inside her, Brittany and Libby are gossiping and discussing like their ideas of the perfect Valentine. They start to sing about what the perfect Valentine is, and this is one of the best scenes in the entire series because Cindy has her own little solo song and everybody at the candy bar breaks out into dance and harmonizes with her in this doo-wop themed My Valentine song.
And obey, he'll do just what I say, my Valentine. My Valentine. He'll hold you in his arms. I'll show him moves he's never seen. He'll woo you with his charm. He'll know his Cindy is supreme. He'll honor and obey. He'll do just what you say, your Valentine. My Valentine.
It's a parody of a real life song. We'll talk about that later. The characters are so well choreographed together, and it's so cute. In the end, she's like, never settle for anyone, and just as she says that, Jimmy crashes into a building, runs into the candy bar, and confesses his love to Cindy. Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. Everybody at the candy bar starts laughing, and it's really uncomfortable, especially as somebody who knows Jimmy so well. Like, the audience is so off-put by this, which is nice because there's a reasonable excuse. You know, there's a love potion. It's not like his character's just randomly in love, but it does add a layer of complexity that we haven't really seen on the show before. Cindy throws ice cream in his face, and everybody continues to laugh at him, and he is actually kicked out of the candy bar.
You messy little hooligan! I just cleaned that floor 8 months ago. You're out of here. Yeah.
Libby points out that maybe this is a genuine love for somebody, and Cindy is totally into it. Like, she's like, okay. And then she shows up when Jimmy is walking home alone, and actually...
So you like me, huh? Well, what are you prepared to do about it?
Tries to prove that it's wrong, and she's noticing that he's actually committed to this idea, and he even asks her to go on a date the next night. Seems like both Jimmy and Cindy are just as confused as their relationship jumps into this, like, new realm. And it's kind of really sweet. When he realizes he finally got the date, he's like excited, but then starts freaking out because he just made a date with Cindy. And that's where the act ends. It's like really dramatic. Meanwhile, Sheen is leading a blindfolded Libby down the street, takes off the blindfold, and there is a shrine made out to her with all this Ultra Lord stuff. It's like this really geeky shrine to her. And he asks her to be his Valentine and sits her down, and they gaze into each other's eyes. And it's actually really sweet.
Sure, Sheen. Of course I'll be your Valentine.
Unlike the next part where it's Hugh and Judy trying to enjoy a nice picnic when Carl shows up with a dancing monkey and music box. Carl, this is such an outdated attempt. He like tries to serenade her but ends up distracting Hugh with the monkey and tries to get a moment with her. Jimmy is really actually concerned about his date with Cindy because he really wants to impress her, so he goes to his lab and it's actually kind of a mess. So he decides to change his clothes, his entire personality, and really fit into this new love version of Jimmy. And it's kind of cool because, you know, I remember in the movie we got to see him change hairstyles and everything, but seeing a completely different side of Jimmy that's like suave and rich, I guess. It looks like his place is just rich, that everybody is, and Jimmy's into it. So when Cindy actually arrives at his place, she's self-conscious about it already, and it's just the fact that these guys already are acting so guilty just shows that they really do like each other.
Wow, Neutron, you clean up good.
Oh, well, thanks. Purple Florp?
Yeah, thanks.
Jimmy's even nervous and asks Cindy if she is. He replies that he's never really felt this way before, and the two kind of have one more confrontation to test if this is really true. They gaze at each other for a moment and cut to Sheen and Libby again. Meanwhile, Sheen sets up Libby to prepare to take down her rivals as like a part of like some vow thing, and Libby's actually like really weirded out. And so Libby's very weirded out by all of this, and she tells him that they need to work on their friendship and asks to go out slowly. She kisses him on the cheek, and this is a genuine relationship.
This is gonna be a long holiday.
Then we get back to Carl and Judy. So Carl then gives Judy a suggestive card with a picture of himself shirtless and posing. And it's like, oh my god, Carl is so committed to this. He's like trying to duel Hugh at every opportunity he gets. When Hugh returns, he's just snippy one more time. And I feel like he's really trying to get her to cheat. And I'm like, Judy Neutron would never do that, right? When Carl eventually leaves, Hugh gives Judy a Valentine, and she is really appreciative. It's in the shape of a duck, of course, and the two share a moment, and we're aware that this is a real relationship, unlike the one Judy had with Carl. But it is funny to think that they needed to clear that up. They needed to give us a moment with both of them to be like, no, Judy's not debating it. No, she's with Hugh. While Jimmy and Cindy are on a date, he gives her a holographic card and asks her to be his Valentine. Oof, Jimmy is really being vulnerable here. And it's just good to see him not be completely... I'm just glad that didn't go on the entire episode. He starts to swing her around to kiss, and I don't like the animation here. It looks like he just pushed her, and that's just weird. And right as they're about to kiss, Jimmy admits that he only wants to be with her because of the pheromone. Cindy gets genuinely hurt in the final and third reason why I'm sure that Cindy has a crush on Jimmy. because she thinks he is playing a cruel prank on her, when really, in a way, he kind of is. He just isn't aware of it. He needs to counteract the pheromone, and what could actually work with that? And they realize that Carl's Gouda feta cheese could be so stinky it could take them out of a sense like that. No way that's gonna work. The next day, the guys sit down and sigh out of relief that Jimmy figured out how to stop the hormones from making them do unwanted things anymore. This kind of feels like The Giver, where like they're suppressing their emotions. I mean, but they are in 5th grade, like they're not quite ready for whatever they're trying to start here. But it is sweet to see this sentimental side of all of them, actually. Sheen and Libby turn to each other, and we even see that they're going to continue their relationship, which I didn't realize this was the episode that solidified something like that. Sheen ends up prancing around happily and the whole thing ends. I like how there's not a lot of like progressing of the plot. It's just Jimmy, Sheen, and Carl being in love, and then Jimmy last minute being like, actually I need to change this, makes an effort to smell the cheese. I wonder what it would be like if earlier he was making an effort but fighting with himself, with Cindy throughout the episode. Although now that I think about it, that would give Cindy reason to not go through with it. It's a really tricky episode because it's like, how do you really portray young love? Like young love that's so young, it's like when you're in crush mode, not like full relationship, but innocent puppy dog love. And that's the best part of Valentine's Day, isn't it? And this show really did a good job at taking me down a Valentine's Day episode. I mean, I know we had the SpongeBob one, we definitely had Fairly Odd Parents. There's been a lot, but this one has done the absolute best job. The other shows are just another episode in the series. It's might as well be a holiday episode, but Jimmy Neutron actually incorporated really pivotal character moments in this specific episode that if this episode wasn't around, this entire show would be like wacky. Like it would be off its track, and we couldn't dial in Libby and Sheen's relationship. We couldn't entertain Carl's crush on Mrs. Neutron, and we couldn't see how guilty Jimmy and Cindy acted toward each other when they thought they were in love, and they are and I feel like even though they don't end up together in this, we are sure that that's what the writers wanted to do. They really did want us to think they were going to inevitably be together. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm really excited to see this pan out. I feel like it's a very mature plot line to make. But what did you guys think? Do you guys remember this episode? Okay, now we're gonna take a break from the full specials and just do a normal 20-minute episode. This one's called Sheen's Brain. So Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen come out of class. Apparently they had a really hard history test. Everybody but Sheen is disappointed in their performance, which is like, why, Sheen, are you so excited?
My grandma's chihuahua could have aced it. I've done connect the dot drawings that were harder. Sheen!
Miss Fowl pulls him aside to tell him that he actually is failing the class now because of this. And I love that Sheen actually put Ultra Lord as some of the answers to the history test, and he was still confident about it. So Jimmy encourages Sheen that the three of them are gonna study and he's going to pass this math test. They go back to Jimmy's house and Jimmy asks him how he'll study, but he just turns on Ultra Lord and prays to it. Jimmy turns off the TV and says they have to get to studying.
How many raisins will Tom have?
What sort of idiot would trade bubblegum for raisins?
That's not the point.
What is he, some kind of health nut? If you ask me, Tom needs counseling. And what kind of name is Ida? What's it short for? Ida preferred a different name?
And Sheen is literally like flipping out. It's so weird to see him like this. Like, I guess I've never seen a Sheen-centric episode to have to see this side of him, and it's kind of dark. And this boy has the nerve to run back to the TV. Jimmy ends up using electric shock negative reinforcement on Sheen. Jimmy decides to use his brain drain helmet as a tool and turns it into the brain gain helmet, which is cool that we're bringing back an old invention. I like that concept. I just realized this is kind of like the sister episode to that. After several disorienting minutes under that hat.
Pretty stupid.
Oh well. Can't say we didn't try.
No, I mean pretty stupid of you to forget the binomial expansion of a negative prime number yields its equal and opposite trigonometric value.
He spoke math! He spoke math!
And Sheen suddenly talks like a scientist, like a genius. We get like a Scottish dance musical number of Sheen just being a genius, and it's just him winning at board games and playing the violin. But it's cool because it's like this character never gets a win, and seeing him at the forefront is kind of cool. Jimmy Neutron is really funny when it decides to incorporate its musical sequences. So they're handed out the math test, and Sheen immediately completes it to perfection. Okay, so the first goal is solved. He pretty much shows off for the entire classroom, making everybody essentially hate him.
let alone this slack-jawed collection of nitwits.
Hey, my doctor says my jaw's only slightly slack.
Yeah, Ultra Dork. Since when did you become Lord of the Smarts?
Sheen then starts to evil laugh and uses his genius to trick Miss Fowl into letting him leave the classroom. So Sheen is going overboard immediately. Didn't see that coming.
May I not be unexcused?
Yes?
Psych!
Jimmy quickly fixes the brain drain helmet and goes to meet Carl at the candy bar, where Sheen is actually getting into a fight with Sam.
I told you, I used a complex algorithm based on the dimensions of the jar.
Yesterday you thought seashells were money. Today you're using algorithms.
I like that Sheen's head physically grows as he gets more egotistical. Like, it's cool to use animation as like a exaggerated medium and actually lean into the cartooniness of it all. He's convinced that everybody loves the new him, which is so funny because everybody keeps saying no. Like, Sheen is so delusional still.
Everyone loves the new me.
No, we don't!
Silence!
He says, "You disappoint me, Jimmy," when everybody has to hold him down, and then laughs evilly. This is like terrifying. I like that it's going on between the three boys though. It makes it such an intimate plot. So Sheen's brain becomes so big that he essentially takes over the entire town and is suddenly able to fly. He crowns Libby to be his queen?
And now for my queen. I shall choose the fairest and most beautiful of the town's females.
I'm afraid of commitment.
I didn't mean you.
And just basically plays around the town with like a jerk. Jimmy and Carl attempt to trick him to put on the brain drain helmet like a crown, and it doesn't work. Sheen could read Carl's thoughts, which apparently a genius can do, and it spoils the plan.
Carl.
Baby llama's in the meadow. Baby llama's in the meadow. Oh no, one of them's escaping. He's heading towards town. Town rhymes with crown. Jimmy and I disguised the brain drain helmet as a crown.
I heard that.
Sheen. Turns out if they don't get the brain drain helmet onto him, he could explode because of him being so smart. Jimmy and Carl realize the only way to get to him is to get to the old him, find an Ultra Lord costume and pretty much stow away in it and use it to trick Sheen. And it works. He immediately is excited to meet Ultra Lord, but is a little suspicious.
How do I know you're not an imposter?
I see your point. Well, I guess I'll be on my way.
Wait, don't go!
He asks the boys a series of questions, which they try to answer very quickly with the Ultra Lord sight. Sheen then uses his genius to zap Ultra Lord, knocking out Jimmy and Carl. Seeing that he hurt his two friends, he realizes that he has gone way too far, and he actually seeks out the helmet. He puts it on and returns back to normal.
So how long you get to keep the costume? Ow! That hurt! Ow! That hurt! Maybe it's worn out by now. Ow! That hurt!
Matron knows best. It all starts at the Neutron dinner table where Hugh is reading fun duck facts and Jimmy is hard at work on a new gadget. But both guys are too wrapped up in their own worlds, so she serves creative meals like mac and cheese shaped like a train for Hugh and mashed potatoes molded like Einstein for Jimmy. But chaos hits when her hydraulic cuckoo clock causes a toilet mishap, soaking Judy.
If is true, every non-prime integer must be equidistant from two primes.
My arm's been sucked into the U-bend!
Judy decides she needs a vacation. The next morning, Judy leaves with a suitcase and a lengthy chore list, while Jimmy and Hugh dream of a mom-free paradise.
Or make us leave the lab and come to dinner?
Get no one to tell us you can't have pizza for every meal, or say, Hugh, put down that duck and talk to me for once.
They try a few chores, but quickly decide they need help. So Jimmy creates a robot version of Judy to take over.
She just wants it done. She doesn't care who or what does it.
At first, the robot Judy seems perfect, mowing the lawn, feeding Goddard, and handling the chores, while Jimmy and Hugh relax with popcorn, but things quickly turn weird when she refuses to go into sleep mode and starts scrubbing them scalding baths.
Not the face!
Oh my god, this is a horror. Back at the spa, Judy enjoys her massage, but starts to miss home. She starts hearing Jimmy's catchphrases and Q's goofy voice. Meanwhile, Robot Judy becomes a nightmare, putting Hugh and Jimmy on lockdown. Jimmy tries to escape, but gets sleepy instead.
I'll need you to cover for me.
So, Jimmy's sitting right beside me and not leaving the room at all. how's it going?
Okay, Dad of mine, who's also remaining in the room with me.
Robot Judy even enters wife mode, and it's unsettling. At the spa, Judy senses something wrong and pedals off the gym bike. I didn't even know you could do this. Oh wait, you definitely can. Meanwhile, Jimmy enlists Sheen and Carl to help deactivate the robot, but Robot Judy will not go down easily.
To associate with my Jimmy, you must complete these qualification forms.
Father's maiden name?
Tying up Hugh and Jimmy and forcing them to eat nutritious meals, which you cannot pay me to do now. Just when things look hopeless, real Judy bursts in only to get tied up herself when the robot realizes she's been replaced. That's the last straw. Judy snaps into action, grabs cleaning gear as a weapon, and ultimately blasts Robot Judy with a molecular ray, taking her down for good. When the house is finally safe again, Judy flips the script. Now she's getting pampered. Hugh and Jimmy give her the spa treatment she deserves, and it's a lot more sweet. Meanwhile, poor Carl and Sheen are still stuck inside Jimmy's lab, desperately trying to finish the never-ending qualification forms for the robot, who's now just a pile of nuts and bolts. Then we have send in the clones. So Jimmy's ready to blast into space to collect rare ice crystals for his freeze ray, but Judy stops him. Chores come first. Oh, here we go. He has to mail a letter, sit with Grandma, drop off a pie, grab Dad's shoes, and deliver a book to Cindy's mom. With no time to spare, Goddard suggests cloning himself. Jimmy agrees, but due to the high-speed process, 6 clones form, each with a wildly different personality.
You call this a great day? I should have stayed in bed.
Ah, but romance is in the air, huh? It is a beautiful day to fall in love, n'est-ce pas? Hey, everybody! It's great to be here from Lion and Dime. Hey, have you seen that Cindy Vortex? Talk about the Wicked Witch of the Elementary. But seriously, these are the jokes, folks. Come on, laugh with me.
And these guys are so funny. There's cool, happy, gloomy, romantic, and funny. They each take on a task and do it horribly.
And do your chores, boys.
But I've never mailed a letter. What if I get my hand stuck in the box?
Hey, turn that frown upside down, Mr. Gloomy Gus. Everything's gonna be terrific.
Happy Jimmy sits with Grandma. Gloomy Jimmy mails a letter and gets stuck in the mailbox and convinces Carl to be depressed.
We're all just dust in the wind.
Okay, I don't want to be dust in the wind.
Cool Jimmy gets the badminton shoes, flirts with Betty, and shows off against Nick. And meanwhile, Jimmy is up in space with Goddard, unaware of the mess downstairs. Funny Jimmy visits Sheen, but mocks Ultra Lord, upsetting him. Romantic Jimmy delivers the book, but sings to Cindy instead, causing her to faint. Evil Jimmy is tasked with dropping off a pie, but instead throws it into somebody's face because he thinks it's funny. When Jimmy returns to Retroville, his whole neighborhood is complaining.
He busted my skateboard, dude.
He said I was gonna be dust in the wind.
He made me smile and my dentures fell out. He mocked Ultra Lord's family.
He made my heart sing and... I mean, he said things to me so vile and despicable, I cannot repeat them in mixed company.
Each clone has caused chaos. As they gather all the clones, they learn that Evil Jimmy is missing. They finally find him switching bathroom signs as a prank, which is kind of funny. However, Evil Jimmy alters his appearance to look like the real Jimmy, causing a confusion in the clones, which usually happens in these types of episodes. Jimmy tries to prove who he is, but the clones side with Evil Jimmy. With no choice, Jimmy freezes them all in a giant block, saving the day.
Healthy, it's such sweet. That is cold.
Yo, give me your best shot, punk.
Oh, this is how it ends, as ice cubes.
I've always wanted to be frozen. This is a dream come true.
Though he loses the freeze ray in the process. And it kind of ends with Evil Jimmy getting away with it. And it's kind of insane. Like, I did not expect a bad ending from this. But, I mean, all the funny clones are the best part. And I forgot how much of a delight this episode was, because it's, like, mostly comedic, but it's just so funny how wrong it gets. Then we have the Great Egg Heist.
Then how do I know you're really Cindy and Libby? Okay, stop. I believe you. You're Libby. But how do I know you're Cindy?
Just open the stupid door!
Jimmy is contacted by a well-dressed Asian lady known as Princess Queen Shisu, last heir of the Qin dynasty, but her friends call her Peggy. She tells him that Jimmy must retrieve an egg drop jade that has an unstable atomic structure which can channel near infinite levels of raw energy. Oof. Her brother Sue has built a doomsday device and wishes to use it to enslave the world. So the egg is in the Retroville Museum, heavily guarded. Jimmy must secure the egg before Peggy's evil brother steals it and has his friends help him. Like, Sheen distracts the security guards while the rest break in. Then Libby uses her high note to shatter the glass and freeze the alarm system. Cindy deactivates the laser tripwire, and Goddard is unable to lower Jimmy down because his circuits were damaged due to Libby's high note. They also have Carl sent in to replace the egg with a fake one rather than Jimmy. Uh-oh, Carl sneezes and switches the eggs, which how much do you want to bet that they got the wrong one?
Ultralord's on TV now! Hey, where's Ultralord? Every channel has the same stupid show. Intruders on level 3.
Sheen accidentally alerts the guards that he was supposed to be distracting to the presence of the group. Oh, come on, Sheen. Goddard disables one of the guards, and they catch up to Libby, who was almost about to pass out from substaining her high note, and the group finally escapes. When they return what they believe to be the real egg to the princess, she reveals herself to be Professor Calamitous.
Phase 1 of my doomsday plan is now complete. Phase 2 hasn't really been worked out yet, but...
Uh-oh, now I don't feel bad that the egg might be wrong. He attempts to use the egg, but finds out that it's actually the fake one, causing a catastrophic meltdown like all the common crystals he had previously tried using, and sends him flying through the air. The end. And I really like a heist-themed episode. Like, it's so clear how this team works well together, and I like that it feels like a kind of break-in like movie. Something very unique for Jimmy Neutron that I didn't expect to be so good. So in 13B The Feud, Jimmy and Carl are playing basketball when Hugh spots crabgrass.
Crabgrass! The defiler of beloved lawns everywhere. My response must be swift and brutal.
He confronts the Weezers over his missing lawnmower. They argue and even insult each other's lawn decorations. Carl's dad's name is Ebenezer, which is kind of weird. He accidentally breaks Hugh's beloved gnome, Sir Quacks-a-Lot. The two become sworn enemies, dragging Jimmy and Carl into the feud.
Carl, this feud can't last forever.
Jimmy tries to stay in touch with Carl using a holographic game, but Hugh shuts it down and bans all contact with him. Oh, this is kind of depressing. Judy tries to fix things by baking a pie for the Weezers, but Carl's dad's allergic, and a shouting match goes on between the moms, so the feud escalates, and now Jimmy's whole family is involved.
Sheen, can you arrange a little get-together with Carl?
You're in luck, Jimmy. I'm having a special this month on super secret meetings. May I suggest a Mexican bandito theme?
So Jimmy turns to Sheen, who sets up a secret meeting with Carl. They build a crabgrass accelerator using Goddard and random parts, cover both lawns with crabgrass so their dads will unite to fight it.
Goodbye, old friend. Avenge you I will!
I can't let my friendship with Jimmy end like this.
Carl, what are you doing? Don't!
But the plan backfires when Carl adds way too much, and the crabgrass mutates into giant monsters. But it is sweet seeing him care so much about his relationship with Jimmy that he does all this. The plants attack the boys, forcing Hugh and Ebenezer to step in. They fight the monsters together, saving the kids and finally putting their differences aside, at least for now. So everyone agrees the feud is over for the sake of their kids. Then Sheen reveals that Sam had Hugh's lawn loper the whole time and paid him to deliver a message, which Sheen forgot to do. The group turns on both Hugh and Sheen for causing the chaos, and everybody chases him down in rage. Then we have Out Darn Spotlight. So Principal Willoughby is directing Macbeth in Space, a sci-fi version of Shakespeare's play, which is perfect for Jimmy Neutron.
Bobby, chill!
Chilling. So what part are you gonna try out for, Jim?
I'm not.
Jimmy isn't really interested until Betty Quinlan tries out for Lady Macbeth. So he asks to audition for Macbeth. When Carl mentions the kissing scene, Jimmy decides to join. At home, he practices acting, hoping to land the lead role.
Barry?
Ooh, that was stink-o-rooney, Jimbo. Open up a window.
Phew!
But luckily, I can help you.
Hugh offers him questionable advice, which is super funny seeing him try to give acting advice.
When you want to act mad, do this. Now, if you want to act happy, which is different than mad, go like this. Now, if an anvil drops on your head, you'd go, ah, there's an anvil on my head. Ow, it hurts.
In the end, Jimmy doesn't really get a part. Like, Nick impresses Willoughby and gets cast as Macbeth, Betty lands the role as Lady Macbeth, and everybody else gets a different part.
She said it would be good for my self-esteem!
Ladies and gentlemen, we found our first witch.
Thank you.
Night, I prefer long-stem roses with the thorns removed, of course, and...
We found our second witch.
A lousy soldier. No way! Forget it! I'm out of here!
He gets to carry a laser spear.
Laser spear?
Principal Willoughby is actually really rude to Sheen. Like, he hates him and he's not apologetic about it, and it's very concerning. And Bowlby does a phenomenal performance, and for some reason he doesn't get a good part. I don't get the casting process.
It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury signifying nothing.
Yeah, sorry, don't see it.
Jimmy doesn't even get a part. He's hired to create special effects on stage crew, and I don't know why there's bashing stage crew here. He agrees, especially when Betty says it sounds cool. But during the romantic rehearsal scene, Jimmy disrupts it with effects, jealous of Nick. Ooh, Jimmy. Right before showtime, Nick actually breaks his leg.
Here comes Nick on his skateboard going really fast and doing some extremely dangerous tricks that could cause him to...
And Jimmy is the only one who knows the lines. He didn't actually want this until Betty encourages him to take it. Sheen, as soldier number 5, forgets a single line and covers it by calling a dramatic pause, which is super funny. I love all the references to Drama Club. Like, this is a really fun concept when shows do this. Meanwhile, Cindy tries to impress a visiting TV producer, Corky Shimizu, by offering a cappuccino during the show, which is not possible. You can't do that. The play continues with a space-themed twist. Macbeth duels Rangun the Space Pirate. As the final scenes approach, Cindy sets off fireworks to show off, and Sheen activates a special effect tornado that spins completely out of control. The tornado wrecks the stage and begins lifting the school into the air, which it becomes a high-stakes stress situation, which is perfect for Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy regains control and lands the school safely. Willoughby scolds Jimmy for ruining the show, but the audience gives a standing ovation. Betty thanks Jimmy with a kiss, making up for the one they missed in the play, and everybody celebrates. Although the school ends up on the top of a snowy mountain, which nobody realized. And this is a weird way to end it. I like how Jimmy Season 2 has a lot more negative endings. Then we have the Junk Man Cometh. So Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are watching wrestling when Robot appears on the TV. You remember Robot from Season 1, Jimmy's little brother that he tried to murder? Yeah, that was him. He claims that the Mooney Men are attacking and begging Jimmy to help. Carl and Sheen push Jimmy to actually go because he doesn't really want to. Come on, Jimmy, that's not nice.
Robot can take care of himself. I provided him with state-of-the-art self-preservation circuitry.
Jimmy, I forgot to tell you, they've disabled my self-preservation circuitry.
Carl and Sheen only agree to go when they realize they can't use the TV while he's gone. All of them take off in Jimmy's rocket, but Carl and Sheen beg to stay inside once they reach the moon.
How come whenever we're in outer space, we don't gotta wear helmets?
Good question, Sheen. And the answer is quite interesting. You see...
Moon, 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 spoon, 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 June, June, June.
On the moon, a spooky figure approaches, but it's just Robot in a mask. Jimmy learns that the Mooney Men were fake and Robot just wanted to play. Annoyed, Jimmy starts to leave, but Robot guilt trips him into staying. A dark space cloud appears, and Robot now claims that the Junk Man has taken his parents. Like a boy who cried wolf situation.
That's rare this time of year.
Jimmy, help, help!
Now what?
Jimmy, the Junk Man is here! He took my parents and sucked them into his ship!
Robot!
Jimmy doesn't believe him and heads home until the cloud reappears and sucks their ship into it, giving them no option. The boys find themselves on the Junk Man ship where the creepy villain shows off his junk empire and decides to scrap Jimmy's rocket for toilet parts.
How's about this? I keep your toilet rocket and fire you out my airlock,
Cool! We get to get shot out of an airlock!
Sheen, we won't survive being shot into space.
Oh my god, this is getting scary. They're stuck on the moon. His dog Roxy comes in, catches Goddard's attention, and the Junk Man imprisons everybody. Inside the cell, the group sees Robot's cheerful but clueless parents, and Jimmy starts to feel bad for not trusting Robot.
Jimmy, yoo-hoo!
Look, there's Robot's parents.
Nice to see you again, Jimmy. How are your folks?
Hello, boys. Great view up here. Wish you could see it.
Will you gearheads pipe down?
Robot sneaks in and rescues them, having stowed away in the rocket. Jimmy agrees to help him rescue his parents. Finally, Jimmy, why did it take so long? They sneak through the ship while Junkman prepares to sell Robot's parents to an alien customer.
Just love the word poop deck.
I know what you mean. Can't say poop without saying deck.
Oh, it just trips off the tongue.
Robot distracts him while Carl and Sheen rescue the parents. Meanwhile, Roxy falls for Goddard and turns against Junkman, tying him up. The Junkman escapes into a pod with Roxy, leaving the ship to crash. Jimmy struggles to steer, but Robot takes over and saves everybody. Later, back at the moon, everybody relaxes with moon pies, while Jimmy and Brobot play moon tennis, finally bonding like real brothers.
Please, one more time, 2 more times, 3 more, more.
Maybe later.
Now, come on, it'll be fun.
Aw, this is a good ending, and I like that Brobot comes back. Like, even the original episode wasn't a 2-part, was only a 10-minute segment, and now he's back for a double length, and I like that he's the one who saved the day, because he's a pretty funny character. He kind of reminds me of, like, Cheese from Foster's. Okay, so we have Fowl Bull. During a class trip to a rodeo outside of Retroville, Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen fall for the same girl, Sagebrush Sally, and this girl is really sweet.
Arthur! What?
To prove themselves worthy of Sally's heart, each of the boys set out to master a specific rodeo talent, because she's into cowboys. Sheen turns himself into a rodeo clown, Carl wrestles a pig, who easily beats him, but it's Jimmy who actually comes out on top, with his impressive bull riding and foolproof robotic bull, of course.
Sheen, wait! That's not your ball!
Showtime! Ah! Less pretending! Sit!
Once the bull malfunctions, Sheen tries to ride it out of jealousy, but the boys need the help of a real cowpoke to save the day. Then that turns out to be Miss Fowl.
What's not safe? Yeah!
Sally gets angry at Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen for lying and decides to go hang out with Cindy and Libby instead. The boys get confused about what they did wrong and guess this might be why they don't like girls yet. Which, come on guys, this is like the 3rd time you showed interest in girls. So they decide to forget about them, go to the candy bar, and have some purple flirt.
Belch the alphabet!
And fart under our arms like men! Like that! Good one, Carl!
And all around, this is really fun. It takes us to a new location that we don't usually see in Jimmy Neutron, and the fact most of the episode takes place there is really interesting, especially being like a rodeo. Like, the Western vibe is definitely a good contrast for the boy genius. Next we have Science Fair Affair. It's the annual school science fair, and Jimmy plans to win again this year with his new invention called I Can't Believe It's Not Oil 9000, which vacuums any garbage in sight and turns it all into oil, which is, oh, that's gonna really help the world, Jimmy. I actually like that idea.
See? I told you garbage could be mulched into a clean burning oil substitute.
No, you didn't.
Oh.
But Jimmy can't enter it this year because Cindy leads a campaign to ban him from all the school science fairs forever, which is super fair. And I don't know why forever is a big deal, Jimmy. You're probably in the school for like less than another year.
The case of Vortex versus Neutron is now in session!
Cindy Vortex, present your case.
Hello, classmates. I ask you, do you have the faintest hope of winning this year's science fair?
No.
And who do you think will win the science fair?
Jimmy.
And what makes you think that?
Well, he's won the last 3, and he's a total genius.
But he is obviously victimized, saying it's unfair, and he's just angry about it. And it's kind of true, like, Jimmy, you're a little bit of a genius. Like, I don't know if it's fair to have you enter with all these non-geniuses. But the science fair continues as planned, with Principal Willoughby, Sam, Corky Shimatsu, and Miss Fowl are the judges, which, what a random group of people. Why do you guys do this? So we got the kids' science projects, like Sheen, he has this starving iguana, Carl has a potato launcher, Libby has a mood CD player, and Cindy has a sweat sock transmogrifier.
I'm perfectly capable of fixing my own invention! Oh, okay, fix it! Hurry!
And of course the judges decide that Cindy is the winner. But Jimmy tries to steal the spotlight for a moment when his oil generating machine actually earns him the Nobel Prize for Science, which, woohoo, 5th grade, see, that's why you're not in the competition, Jimmy.
I can explain, son. You see, you were feeling so glum about not being in the science fair that I sent your blueprints to the Nobel Prize folks.
Bulby, however, intervenes and shows off his mud maker, which drenches Hugh, Willoughby, and Svensson. The oil machine mistakes everybody covered in mud as garbage and sucks them inside to be turned into oil. Oh my gosh. Jimmy can't kill the switch because it's stuck in the toggle position. Jimmy tries to hold the machine back so it doesn't actually hurt anybody, and does that. Cindy organizes a plan to have Carl, Sheen, and Libby use their science projects to all stop Jimmy's invention. Lars Svensson is angered by the flaw in Jimmy's machine and takes back the Nobel Prize, which is kind of sad, and it's Bulby's fault, not Jimmy's. Principal Willoughby awards the trophy to Carl, Sheen, and Libby for saving everybody, which irritates Cindy, of course, as she orchestrated the plan. Jimmy tries to give Cindy reassurance that her efforts have been saved by everybody, and that's more rewarding than anything else. But Cindy responds to this by stuffing Jimmy into a giant sweater.
Don't worry, Jimmy. I saw everything. We'll see you in court. Don't make me habeas your corpus.
And this one is really cool. I feel like you get a chance to really see the characters act out on their raw emotions, and seeing them so hostile toward each other is very interesting to me. Now for episode number 16, let's take a moment of respectful silence for one of the greatest crossovers of all time. Are you over it? Okay, cool, let's move on. Then we have Men at Work. See, this one is really fun because I've always wanted to get a job at that age, even though I think they're 11 or 12. It's so illegal for Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen to work at this.
The equipment I'd need to make enough gold to replace this stuff would take a ton of money.
We can sell our bodies to science.
You have to be dead to do that.
Okay, Mr. Negative.
So to raise money for his inventions, Jimmy decides that he, Sheen, and Carl should be getting jobs. Skeet, who is an employee at the month and a manager at McSpanky's, hires Sheen and Carl, but doesn't think Jimmy's the McSpanky type. Ooh, disrespectful.
I'll start you on the register and see where it goes. Can you all start today?
Yeah! Now about our pay.
Minimum.
We'll take it!
But he does agree to try Jimmy out. Carl and Sheen really enjoy their positions and are even really good at it.
Give me a cow and an earthquake, a dancing albino with a heart condition, and a baby in a rickshaw.
Coming at ya!
But Jimmy doesn't follow the rules. He talks back to Skeet and is not pleased with the humiliating work he has to do. So he takes it upon himself to show everybody what he's capable of, making McSpanky's a fully automated and hygienic place.
And there's your order, completely customized in 45 seconds flat.
Delicioso.
Customers are happy, satisfaction goes up. If they aren't, it corrects the problem.
So everything's smooth sailing and the restaurant keeps its rating at very satisfied until Hugh and Judy show up to support Jimmy.
Dude, the meter's heading south.
What's going on?
Oh, and they have the best theme song. I think I'll sing it now. Taco Shack, you'll eat cheese until you yak.
But Hugh prefers Taco Shack, which causes the approval rating of the restaurant to drop, making it shake too, which is kind of scary. It takes away everybody's tables of food. Principal Willoughby is there and he announces it's the Burgergeddon, and Sam yells everybody out and everybody runs out of the restaurant screaming. But Hugh doesn't care because...
What's happening, Hugh?
Who cares? We're going to Taco Shack!
The restaurant head then grows in size and starts flying like a UFO, and it's really disturbing looking. It looks like Night of the Living Dummy or something. Jimmy, Sheen, and Carl follow it in Jimmy's hovercraft to determine what it's doing, and as they see it destroy Taco Shack and Food Sauce, as well as other food restaurants, it seems like it wants to be the only restaurant left in Retroville.
Not Pizza Clown, too!
Hard left! We can still make it to the Big Pilgrim for a Miles sandwich and a Pocahontas.
Jimmy tries to shoot McSpanky's down, but it fires back and heads toward the supermarket. It's going to destroy more than just restaurants. It's going to destroy everything that sells food. So Jimmy rearranges Goddard's taste buds and tricks it into placing an order for 4 McSpanky's deluxe burgers cooked at 20,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which would be enough to mess it up.
McSpanky's has no choice but to fill that order.
Well, in that case, give me a curly fries and a McSpanky pie.
2, please.
The restaurant then flies into one place in the galaxy so it can attain that temperature, the sun. But it burns up upon impact, and it successfully is stopped from destroying any more businesses. Oh man, but there's a lot of rebuilding to do here. They end up finding Skeet's Employee of the Month picture under the rubble, and they assume it was the captain of this place, and set off to find him, which is a really fun ending. Okay, so in this one, the episode starts with Hugh and Judy packing up to go to the Burning Duck Festival, which sounds like a really dark gathering. They tell Jimmy that he has to stay at the Weezers. At first, he's really excited until the Weezers put germ-destroying lotion on him. Oh my gosh.
Are you guys all right?
Just limbering up the old GI tract, Jimbo. It keeps your digestion loose and gas-free.
So then they start doing a lot of stuff that Jimmy thinks is just like plain boring. And then when it's time to go for bed, Jimmy can't sleep because it's like super early at night.
Boys, sleep tight now.
But it's only 7:30.
Nah, Jimmy. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man less prone to bronchial infection. Night, kids.
And then the Weezers snore super loudly. So Jimmy goes to his lab to create a pill that will stop them from snoring, but that's not the only thing it does. So when Carl wakes up, he discovers he doesn't need his glasses, and he can do finger push-ups, and Carl's parents are super strong now. So it's like they essentially turned into superheroes.
Chow down, son. It's fabulous.
Carl starts to climb up walls, jump over buildings, and his parents are eating foods they were never able to eat because of their allergies. So they decide to climb Mount Incredibly Unstable, which is a crazy name for a mountain, that nobody has ever survived from. And isn't this animation like so cool? I feel like they're going all Dragon Ball Z on this part. When they reach the top of the mountain, the pill wears off and they start to fall in actual danger. Jimmy saves them, but the rock they were standing on rolls down the hill and is about to destroy everyone at the Burning Duck Festival. Jimmy uses his tractor beam and has Sheen tilt the hovercraft so the desert sand blows in the face of the Weezers, who are allergic to salt, and their sneezes will actually stop the rock just in time from crashing and ruining the festival.
Out of sight! You totally blew my mind, Weezers!
Oh, are you all right, sweetie?
Sure, Mom.
Hugh invites them to participate in the festival, and the episode ends with them all singing together while Mount Incredibly Unstable crumples in the background. Oh my gosh. For 18A, we start with Jimmy versus Cindy in a kite competition battle. Jimmy defeats Cindy in the semifinals, and then it's Jimmy's turn against Eustace Stretch, an extremely rich and snobby kid.
Stretch, you nattering nabob! Eustace Stretch!
Oh, Stretch. No one cares yet.
At the end of the kite battle, Eustace is defeated and Jimmy wins the battle. Eustace invites Jimmy and his friends to his house, which Jimmy refuses at first, but eventually only comes because of Cindy.
Make the necessary preparations. We'll need to entertain this rebel properly.
Also, Hugh deems it rude for Jimmy not to accept, so whatever. Little did they know, this is a part of an evil plan for Eustace to get back at Jimmy.
Glad to know you. Glad to know you. Say, you look like a golf man. You know, I'm more of a duck guy. I love ducks.
At Eustace's house, he starts to give everybody various gifts: a holographic boy band for Libby, Ultra Lord Power Glove for Sheen, and a cloned llama for Carl. Jeez, all these people are easily influenced.
Used gym shorts?
My old spaz. Thought your wardrobe needed touching up. Laugh with me, everyone. Laugh with me.
Which makes him very angry as everybody laughs at him. Aww. Meanwhile, Hugh is having purple flirt with Eustace's dad, who admits that he's a horrible dad and lives in fear of his son. But Hugh gives Mr. Stretch a few pointers, most notably setting limits and continuing.
We find it helps to set limits, like no space travel on school nights, or no teleporting your mother.
And that works? Incredible. Tell me more about these limits.
Sure.
When they challenge him to a robot battle, he doesn't have the guts to use Goddard against Eustace's RA multi-unit, which is like a robotic cat. So then of course he keeps pushing Jimmy until he accepts.
You're on, Stretch. Don't worry, boy. You'll beat him easy.
Let the game begin!
The robot pets fight, and Goddard takes out an antenna-like weapon. To everybody's surprise, the robot takes out the exact same weapon, and Jimmy is like, oh my gosh, it can copy any weapon and hurl it back tenfold.
You can't do this!
Be gone! I've no further use for Neutron's squeeze.
So Jimmy orders Goddard to run, but it begins to fly as well. So Goddard's in danger. Jimmy realizes what he must do to win the battle and tells Goddard to play dead. So Goddard does so via blowing himself up. And he didn't account for that Eustace's was not planned for that. So he actually blows up. Goddard then reassembles himself, and Eustace is out a kitty, and it remains destroyed.
For this Neutron, I will pursue you with everlasting vengeance!
Eustace promises to pursue Jimmy with everlasting vengeance. However, his father steps in and takes Hugh's advice, giving his son a timeout.
Now you'll pay.
Uh-oh, that's a timeout. Right, Fix. Take Eustace to his room so he can, think.
Which is the beginning of something new for this family. And this is a really sweet episode because Jimmy's apologizing to Goddard for using him, and Hugh's advice actually makes a difference in someone else's life, as opposed to the advice he keeps giving to Jimmy, which is not helpful. And all around, just a really fun episode with a really interesting villain. I almost like him a little bit better than the rich kid in Fairly Odd Parents. But yeah, those were a majority of season 2. Now, the final 3 episodes are all combined, so let's get into it. Jimmy Neutron is a really great show. Despite only having 3 seasons, they actually had a numerous amount of specials. And it's weird because Nickelodeon would do this thing where they'd have a season of quote-unquote 20 episodes, but 3 or 4 of those would be 2 or even 3-part episodes. A good example would be Danny Phantom's second season had 2 or 3 of the 20 episodes being specials. And it's not so different from Jimmy Neutron. We've unpacked a lot in the first season retrospective, but the second season is where things get really intense, and for the most part becomes more relationship heavy, and not in a bad way. Like, Jimmy still keeps his inventions, he still keeps the funny comedic moments, and it just gets better and better as it goes along. And this special is no exception, because not only is it a special, it's a 3-part special, which, as you know, I qualify as essentially a movie, despite the fact it's not in theaters. It's got all the elements of a really good movie, a great script, fun comedic beats, relationship development, and even a guest star? Tim Allen is in this. Why? Oh yeah, because it's a good movie. But without spoiling any more, let's dive into the second season finale, Jimmy Neutron's Win, Lose, or Kaboom. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny 2000, focusing on TV, music, media, and everything that has to do with the 2000s. And today we're jumping in to Jimmy Neutron. Now, before we jump into the entire plot, I wish I could just riff for hours about this opening sequence. Like, I just love that it's just a space rock going through space, and all the credits are getting listed. It definitely gives me the feel of a realistic movie. Otherwise, why would you waste the first 2 minutes of this thing saying who's involved? Unless you're really proud of it. Okay, mysterious space rocks are falling into several different planets. All these different species are being interrupted by this message, supposedly. One falls on Earth. We're interrupting a moment where him and Cindy are going over their friend contracts.
Simply says that while you may be a genius, I wipe the floor with you in things like people skills and taekwondo.
And this is such a funny start. And we also get a really cute moment between Sheen and Libby, who have actually got their relationship together, so they deserve to be acknowledged for it.
Sheen, do you have a temperature? Yes, I'm a red-hot tamale ever since I sent away with this booklet in the back of Junk Man Cometh.
I feel like they're one of the more cuter cartoon couples because they've kind of led up to this moment, and just these two toward each other are very supportive. Like, Libby is very entertained by Sheen's stupidity, and Sheen is very appreciative of Libby, so it's nice to see something not toxic. As Timmy's about to sign this treaty with Cindy, there is a blaring alarm to show that something is wrong, so Jimmy has to gather Sheen and Carl and quickly head back to his lab. Hugh Neutron tries to go with them, but he's very clearly left out.
You better let me come along, son. It could be dangerous.
Sorry, no can do. The extra weight will slow down my rocket.
Yeah, but what?
And as Jimmy is heading to figure out what's up, the entire US military is also trying to figure it out. And they kind of belittle Jimmy as they're both flying in their rockets trying to see the discrepancy from space.
This is Jimmy Neutron. Don't shoot that rock!
Out of the way, flyboy.
No, you don't understand. It contains an important message for Earth.
Yeah, well, here's my message. Eat lead, space rock!
And I love the dynamic between this little kid and the entire US government. It's just something that, like, you really relate to when you're watching it as a kid, and then also, like, as an adult, really respect the fact that he is not condescending, despite the fact the adults are kind of condescending to Jimmy. The space rock is actually about to crash into Jimmy's house when Hugh comes outside, and luckily he stops it just in time.
Honey, call the chiropractor.
But that's not the end of the government. Nope, they have a town hall in Retroville where they're discussing what to do about this foreign space rock. Well, the mayor asks what they should do with it. Most agree on destroying it, but Jimmy shows up in time and explains the history of the rock.
Carl, Sheen, show the first slide.
Ow, Sheen, I'm right next to you!
Apparently, since 1511, rocks with strange symbols have fallen from the sky. Every rock that landed on Earth over the last 500 years was destroyed before science had a chance to study them. Although Cindy feels like nobody should mess with it, as they learn from the Yokian incident not to talk to intergalactic strangers.
Neutron, I thought you agreed I have valuable contributions to make. Yeah, but thanks. You won't be sorry. Fellow townspeople, my friend Jimmy is a genius, and his plan makes a lot of sense. But I'm not convinced.
Although initially complied with the idea of studying the rock, the town instead votes, with Cindy's encouragement. Jesus, Cindy, why? You guys were just trying to be friends. To make the stone into a tourist attraction after being reminded of Jimmy's mistake talking to the intergalactic strangers. My God, how many times is this going to be reminded? So Jimmy knows a message is on the rock, and he just wants to decode it, but nobody wants him to. General Abercrombie takes it away, and I forgot about this name.
Jimmy Neutron, this is General Abercrombie, and I order you to step away from the rock.
Well, General, it's a message to us from space.
I don't care if you're gonna dress it up and take it slow dancing. It's strange and unfamiliar, so we have to destroy it.
Abercrombie and Fitch is such a popular clothing brand. It's just so funny to think that there's a general of whatever police force that's named after the retail brand. So Jimmy pulls his dog's tail and shoots a locating device. When looking at the stone in his lab, Jimmy is able to decode the language into a riddle. In the dark, they arrive without being fetched. In the light, they are lost without being stolen. Ooh, really deep.
Call Cindy and Libby and tell them to meet us at the army base at 2100.
2100? But that's decades from now.
It means 9 o'clock.
Oh, that's better for me.
So he concocts a plan to actually head to the military base and solve the riddle. Luckily, Cindy, Libby, Carl, and Sheen join him on this journey, as they have this really intense break-in montage that's actually really cinematic. We see Jimmy freezing guards and jumping over walls through laser beams. I really wish this section had like a full 5-minute scene, because this is done in the Muppet movie too, and it's actually really good. Who doesn't love a good heist montage starring the Jimmy Neutron cast? And even Cindy flying. When they get in, they are surprised to see Bulby.
What are you doing here?
Bulby worship giant space rock.
Bulby spiritual.
Well, how did you... Never mind.
Once Jimmy decodes the message and answers its riddle, the military come just in time to stop him. But just when we think that's the biggest threat, he and his friends are abducted and taken into the depths of space. Later, the cast find themselves in this alien-like chasm, only to find out that this is a game show. A spotlight comes on and we have a game show host, played by Tim Allen, come in. A life-threatening game show, Intergalactic Showdown, hosted by Meldar Prime.
The rock indicated a cultured, highly advanced society.
Whoop, 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 booyah!
So Meldar is played by Tim Allen, and he is threatening to blow up whichever planet loses. Earth is one of the people. The first opponents are the Gorloks. The host announces the first game to be Smorgasball. The rules are surprisingly similar to that game in Harry Potter.
You've never heard of Florgasball? What, you people live in a cave?
Meanwhile, Hugh has gotten this TV that has all the channels in the galaxy, even the one that allows them to watch this event. So soon, all the kids' parents gather in Hugh's living room to watch and cheer on these kids, and I mean cheer on as in hope they survive.
I can see every bead of sweat on your terrified son's face, Weezer.
Finally, they lose the battle, all because of Jimmy's selfishness. In the next competition, it seems like a surefire win, as the humans are versing the Needleheads, and they have to search for this cute little thing in a cave. We learn that it's not so cute, and it breathes fire, and even Goddard can't stop him. Suddenly, the Needleheads turn out to be really good at this, and we're really scared for the Earthlings' chances at this competition. We have a really funny talking head where we get to see the perspective of all the characters, and I love that this is included. Like, this is not done in any other episode of Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. This is a man's planet. Like I was saying to my chickie babe Libby earlier. Cupcake, I said. Just sit back and let your big, strong hunk of man take care of you, right?
That's it. Stop the camera.
As they lose the competition, it's time to vote out one of the weaker players in more of a Survivor-like setup. They're taken to this island where they get to sleep, and this is not good. There's a lot of tension here. Throughout the first 2 events, Jimmy feels like he can single-handedly win without allowing his friends to help. So he causes his teammates to lose them, thus almost getting Earth destroyed by Meldar and forcing the gang to vote off somebody. Jimmy forms a secret alliance with one named April. They become friends and start to develop some feelings for each other as they meet in their secret plot to attack. Ooh, there's a lot of relationship issues going on, Jimmy and Cindy. I guess we start off with a complicated note in this film of the two having an agreement on being friends, but now it just seems to escalate. Their survival like tribe council, Jimmy feels useless since he caused them to lose both games, and Jimmy, Cindy, and Bulby are tied to be the ones voted out.
And the first person voted off your team will be...
In the end, Bulby is eliminated in a 2-2-3 vote, and they're surprised to see that Bulby voted himself out. I love this character, he's so funny. So he is kept in the Cell of Indignity, which turns out to be Dignity, until the end of the game.
Probably being horribly tormented right now.
A little to the left.
Next, the gang competes with the Needleheads, which is, how is this a race? In an eating competition. One of the Needleheads gets his head blown up after eating a banana cream pie. Jimmy wants to go for his team, confident that he can get the wheel to stop on a banana cream pie again, but the others convince him to send Carl because he can stomach anything.
All right, I'll do it for the llamas and Jimmy's mom.
Carl gets an alien dish, and he actually likes it, and it's disturbing because this is disgusting. Team Earth wins.
God, this is wonderful!
The special is really good at making us feel like we are on a desolate island in space, and I'm like rooting for our characters because our planet feels so small, and to think that it would be in the hands of like 5 elementary school kids is really concerning.
Keep watching, Hugh. We need to know what's happening with the children.
You can count on me. Just as soon as I make some bean dip.
So after the event, April and Jimmy meet, and Jimmy decides to help April stop Meldar from destroying all the planets. April kisses Jimmy. Oh my gosh, the first shot of an actual relationship on this show. This is crazy. Which is a sign of trust in her culture. Which, oh my gosh, can you imagine? Like, if that was your culture, like, I would be so uncomfortable going to school. Like, saying hi to the teachers, the faculty. Oh my god, weird. Cindy misinterprets this as them making out and gets actually pretty jealous. She prepares to actually start a fight, but is interrupted by April's father.
Are you alright, Cindy?
Like you care! Go check on your green girlfriend!
She's not my girlfriend!
We're tearing each other apart!
Then the next game is a race against the brains.
And these guys are already making me really uncomfortable. Like, look at the way they're expressing themselves.
Goddard's disqualified from the race as Meldar forbids the teams to cheat. Even though they let brains do it, it's not fair. The gang runs to see a shortcut sign, which leads to the finish line. Cindy asks why there would be such a clearly labeled shortcut, but Jimmy dismisses her, says, trust me. Okay, Jimmy, this is not off to a positive start. They foolishly run to the shortcut and are instantly zapped back to their hometown, but it's not really hometown. It's Retroville, but it's like a really purgatory dream world Retroville.
The whole town is empty.
Guys, check out the street signs.
They're blank. All of them.
But at least the new daytime moon is pretty.
They're sent back to their city and everything looks different and unusual. They notice that Bulby and Goddard are still missing from the team. They hear voices that are haunted and strange in the candy bar. Oh my god, this feels like actually Five Nights at Freddy's. Is anybody getting that vibe? Which are the voices of their parents calling their children's names. Oh my gosh. Their parents emerge from behind the counter of the store and their eyes are delirious and wild. And then they start to chant this word, eat and forget, and it's really uncomfortable. Sam serves the ice cream to Carl and Sheen, while Libby complains the ice cream tastes like sheetrock, not to be confused with dry sheet walls, and Carl eventually eats it too. Their parents walk slowly like zombies, continuing to chant, eat and forget, and they run away. It's like a horror film. As they leave the candy bar, everything is now devoid of the parts of the city except the candy bar.
What do we do, Jimmy?
I don't know. Unless we can break their hold on us, we're completely at the brain's mercy.
Forget! They're coming! I say we jump. Maybe the shock will wake us up.
They have no choice but to leap into the chasm to escape the hypnosis. After escaping the hypnosis, the kids see that the brains are about to win, but Jimmy realizes they can still win if they help each other and to be a team player. Jimmy finally has a moment where he attempts to sacrifice himself for the group to be able to go through to the finish line, which is definitely a good character development. Congratulations, Jimmy. And Cindy tries to deny it, but they end up doing it anyway and they complete the race.
I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, because you always do.
Oh, really?
Yes, really.
Jimmy and the gang are then tied for the lead with the Gorlocks. In the trivia showdown, Meldar gets Goddard back to Jimmy. Papa Gorlock beats Jimmy to the smashing of the Gong of Trivia, but answers the question incorrectly.
Why do the Krexels of Remnion 8 cross the ice caps of Merbior?
To get to the other side?
So Jimmy can come up and have a chance to answer. And just at this time, all the parents finally get the portal working to exactly where the TV show is being held.
All right, everyone, who wants nachos?
3!
Nachos!
And of course, Hugh Neutron happens to be the first one to enter it. Out of the blue, Hugh falls into the scene. And this is super unexpected because obviously that isn't the reality they're in.
Your mom got your wormhole thingy running, and I saved the nachos.
Well, interesting.
And having watched so many alien TV shows, becomes the team's lifeline and answers Jimmy's question for him. Did not see this coming at all.
How many evil twins were hatched from Dakota's birth sac on the popular daytime drama Andromeda 90210?
So now it looks like Hugh had an actual reason to be watching all those daytime dramas on the different channels. This causes Jimmy's team to win the new space car, and the Earth can be salvaged. Unfortunately, though, the other planets are going to be blown up, and the losing teams are being forced to watch. If this were a normal cartoon, the episode could end here. But since this is going by feature-length structure rules, it's only the end of the second act. So this is a long journey to undo all the damage that had just happened.
That's it? You kidnap us into space, threaten to blow up Earth, and you think you can make it right by giving us this stupid car?
Maybe you'd like me to destroy your planet anyway.
No! The car's fine.
Yeah, we love the car.
I thought not.
As they exit the planet, not wanting to break his promise to April, and starts to feel bad, needing to convince everybody to go back to the game show. Jimmy refuses to let Meldar blow up the other planets, so he and his friends decide to do the right thing and end Meldar's show forever. And these poor other species, can you imagine your planet's about to be blown up and you had a bunch of people that was also going to have the same thing happen? I mean, I would relate to the other people, I guess.
Who wants to join me in the big countdown?
This guy is destructive. I can't see any redeeming qualities for this game show host, and I kind of want to hear his backstory. It's just interesting how Tim Allen can play such a heartless, ruthless alien game show host. Like, why is he doing it so well? It's almost a red flag. Sheen interrupts the big video feed. Really nonsensical hand puppet.
Fellow aliens, attention! We interrupt this program to bring you an important news bulletin.
After using Goddard to interfere with Meldar's technology, Jimmy's space car shoots a blue missile at Meldar, seemingly crushing him, but he returns momentarily and summons an army of robots, to Flarguy and Vandana to prevent them from doing anything to his show. Jimmy gives a really empowering speech on why everybody needs to work together, and if they could just shut down the mainframe, they could stop the entire show. But obviously everybody kind of wants to seek help for themselves. But it's good that Jimmy actually came back, like he won, so you guys need to be more considerate. Like, he's able to give up his home planet to help the greater good. Why aren't you guys?
I am with the Earth Boy! Who's up for putting Intergalactic Showdown out of business?
I'm in. Kids?
I'm in!
Yeah!
We are swayed by your logic.
Meldar transforms Bandana into a fierce fighting machine. And this is actually one of the funniest action scenes I feel like I've seen in any cartoon, where all these characters are just attacking each other in wacky ways. Like, you could even see Carl running Like, he's not even being helpful in this moment. Meanwhile, Jimmy is trying to use Goddard to stop everything. Jimmy notices that Meldar is actually able to stop a really powerful blow, and he notices that he's able to do it through these little diamonds he has on his wrists. And just as Meldar is about to corner Jimmy and fully take him out for good, Carl swoops in on this bug robot thing and throws a pie in his face. Yeah, I'm sure that's definitely gonna defeat him. Jimmy turns the table on this guy by using his diamonds against him, finally defeating him once and for all. April gives him a kiss and says that it's not just a custom, this one is actually a kiss, which is kind of funny.
All right, time to go home, kid. Sorry, Carl, but you know the Florgus grease does the interior, you can't come.
Hugh Neutron is ready to go, and everybody says their goodbyes as they fly off and say goodbye to the rest of the species and fly into space. Meldar gets his comeuppance as there's a game show where he's essentially just constantly being zapped. And it's being watched by Hugh and Judy in the living room, and it's kinda dark. I don't know if you just want to watch people being tortured. But then again, I would argue that this is social commentary on what reality television really is. It is just people getting tortured on TV with other people watching, and really the only way you can defeat such a evil propaganda is by working together and overcoming the programming. I mean, that's just me going off on a tangent.
Have I shown you my favorite channel?
Low gravity snuggling from Venus?
Come here, you.
Ew, I don't want to see what's going on behind closed doors, and why did Hugh just quack? Oh, and look, there's another scene. Okay, wasn't expecting this. Everybody's at the candy bar. Sam's giving Carl some nice ice cream, and Libby and Sheen are back together. I like the callback to the first scene of this special.
Hey there, sweet cakes. You're kind of cute.
No.
As Jimmy and Cindy are still working on their contract.
You know, Neutron, this is kind of like our version of the Gorlakin Seal of Trust.
Oh, well, maybe from a certain point of view, I guess.
And they're actually about to kiss, being interrupted once again by a new space rock. Oh, it's a message from April. That's cute. What if every time I sent you a text and you sent me a text, a giant space rock went to deliver it? How inconvenient would that be? Oh my gosh, Jimmy is such a playboy in this episode. He's been with everybody. Cindy walks off really annoyed, and that's fair. The end. Jimmy, I know you're not trying to reply to that text message. Jimmy. So this episode was produced in Season 3, but it was later tacked on in Season 2 instead. The last challenge of the show is a parody of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and the contestant screen resembles the original interface from that actual show. And there were even more fun references to really cool reality TV shows, in addition to game shows, like that Survivor reference where the kids are voting each other out. Like, I thought that was super fun. Not only is this 3-part special super fun and follow a really clear and well put together screenplay format, but it's also super funny, entertaining, and they're able to fit in so much character development. Like, everything that was introduced in that Valentine's Day episode we talked about a while ago is continued here, and it's obvious that it was supposed to be in the 3rd season. And Hugh playing a big part in this special even just solidifies how good the show is. It seems like the writers and producers of Jimmy Neutron figured out everything that worked and crammed it into this one specific special. Unlike the original movie and everything, like, they've tested everything, and this is the ultimate way of showing how good the show is. One of my favorite parts is definitely the action sequence in the first act of this. Like, everything doesn't have to be as funny as it is, but even the action scenes are entertaining to watch, and as somebody who hates action, it's just entertaining. So yeah, overall, if you haven't seen Win, Lose, Kaboom, you definitely have to. I wish Nickelodeon promoted this more. I wish this was somehow in the theaters, but you know, that's not the times we're living in anymore, and it wasn't back then either. Well, that was a really interesting season. We got introduced to some of the best villains in all of television, in my opinion. Like, Eustace was really interesting. We got those 3 alien dudes that came in. There were just so many surprises, twists, and turns. But more importantly, a lot of laughs and a lot of weird things happening. Jimmy Neutron took a turn this season that I never expected it to take. Whether it was his inventions, his relationships with the Weezers and Sheen, or even just dealing with his own ego. Like, Jimmy Neutron was peak in this season. I remember all these episodes like the back of my hand. And I would say even the strongest episodes throughout this whole thing. But yeah, what did you guys remember from the season of Jimmy Neutron? Remember, there's only one more season after this. Like, this show was really not that long, and this was the bulkiest part of the series. So we're about to wind down on the complete Jimmy Neutron retrospectives. How do you guys feel? Is there more stuff you want to talk about with these episodes? Please don't forget to comment. Join my community of 2000s content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys again soon. Have a great day.